What is happening out there, Roto Scouts baseball fans? Welcome to a Tuesday show, gang. Baseball only kind of a day for us. Solid slate to break down. We've got 11 games on tap today. Should be a good one, but nice little reprieve from a busy few days covering the first week of the NFL. Playing all those slates. Hopefully you guys did well out there. Turned into a fun football game last night in the second half. First half really looked ugly, but pulled it together a little bit, turned into a much better game. Basically, once Randy Moss came on the Manning cast, if you were paying attention, Vikings started playing well. Went off for 3 touchdowns after that in the second half. Turned into quite a game. Some of the stuff we talked about on that show paid off. Other things, not as much. It's the nature of the beast. Baseball-wise, had the right stack. I mentioned it yesterday, I think, on the football show. The one lineup I threw in for baseball, I just went with a Angels-Twins game stack. And it was originally Brian Wu, and then I turned it into Garrett Crochet when Joe Adele scratched. And it cashed. It was a good lineup, but just didn't have quite the right guy. No Royce Lewis. It was not quite right. Hit that James Outman home run, though. Hopefully somebody played that. If you just bet that, I imagine it paid pretty nice. Handful of people here walking in the room. Andy's here. Anthony Taylor. Ricky Rose. What's going on? Clintwood. Minnesota to the moon. We shall see. Yeah, that spot's looking pretty juicy again. I'm seeing a lot of power on the other side. It's debatable, though. In the raw form, Zebby gives up plenty of premium contact power, but he's pretty good against righties, and that Angels lineup is pretty heavily right-handed. So we're seeing a lot of power there, but I don't know if we necessarily want to chase it. It might be an illusion out on the horizon, but we'll talk it through. It should be a really good slate. Looking forward to breaking this one down with you guys. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel as we get started. We will have either tomorrow or Thursday, probably Thursday, with presumably a lighter baseball slate, but the Thursday night football game to talk about. Might end up doing it like the Get the Quarterbacks and Stacks show knocked out, do like an hour on that, and then pivot to the Thursday night game as like a combined show. I'm assuming Thursday's baseball slate, again, is going to be light, so we'll maybe knock that out in an earlier show that'll be shorter. But I would look for that show somewhere on probably Thursday and then probably Friday. But depending on how the schedule falls, maybe Saturday, we'll do the full main slate breakdown. Might move things up. We'll see how tomorrow looks. Scheduling, again, not my best attribute, but we'll get through it. Content will be up. I'm going to probably have projections up overnight tonight, early tomorrow, somewhere around there for the main slate. We'll get Thursday up there as well. It's amazing how quick the turnaround really is. We'll be right back in the thick of football in mere moments. But right now, let's talk 11 games of baseball. Again, looking like a pretty solid slate. A lot of late action on this runs board, but solid totals throughout. Tigers and the Yankees. Sub-4 implied total for the Tigers against Will Warren. Giving Will Warren a little bit of respect there. That is a good Tigers lineup coming into Yankee Stadium. I can realistically see them getting to Will a little bit here, but he's been very good overall through the season. Casey Mize is on the mound for the Tigers. He has his last one was pretty good. Prior to that, he had kind of hit the skids for 6-7 starts in a row, giving up a handful of runs. He did have a 10 strikeout game in there, but gave up 4 earned runs in that game over 6 1/3. A little bit up and down. Wouldn't stun me if he had a very good game against the Yankees. Wouldn't stun me if they had a very good game going back the other way, and they're pulling a 4.73 implied total and are one of the leading teams on the slate projection-wise. So I think we can lean into Yankees bats, but Mize is at worst playable on the other side. We've seen worse pitchers beat those Yankees. Luis Garcia making a start for the Astros, going up against the low strikeout Blue Jays. Had a good one in his first outing, 6 innings, 6 strikeouts, just 3 earned runs. Did give up 2 home runs in that game, but a little bit of just wonkiness there. 3 hits overall. Not a bad start. That was against the Angels. That's an Angels kind of an outing. Blue Jays, completely different kind of a team. I can see a lot of base hits, and maybe the power comes through. Maybe they just sequenced him to death. but I don't love that spot for Garcia. Shane Bieber on the mound coming back the other way. 6 innings in his last one, 6 strikeouts, but gave up 5 earned to Cincinnati. That was at Cincinnati. The first 2 were better than that. The first one was his best outing so far, 9 strikeout game against the Marlins over 6 innings. But as long as we're getting 6 reliably, I think we can, comfortably at least consider Bieber. It's just a good Houston lineup on the other side. The Cubs and the Braves, an 8.5 run total. You can see September baseball, we've knocked some of these totals down by a run, half a run in a lot of spots. But the Cubs and the Braves have Cade Horton against Spencer Strider. Strider still really, mostly struggling to find form, has not had more than 3 strikeouts in his last 4 outings. He came out of a few of them early after giving up a bunch of runs. Last time out, struck out just 1, walked 3 over 5 innings against the Cubs. Just 3 strikeouts against the Marlins the start before that one. It's been a minute since we've seen the high-quality Spencer Strider, and now he gets these Cubs again. Seems problematic. Cade Horton has been good, but is a little bit limited for pitch count lately. Came out after 5 excellent innings, faced 16 hitters. He was no hitting them. He struck out 6 and walked 1, but he came out after 5. Hasn't thrown more than 90 pitches in a minute. So I think we're just looking at 5. I think they're just kind of managing that arm right now. Could be a good, very, very good 5 innings from him, but I think he lacks the real ceiling that we need on a slate like this, and the Braves are pulling a 4.28 implied total on the other side. Adrian Hauser going against Joandres Gomez. I think Gomez puts the Rays bats in play. Like the look of the top of that lineup with some of the power bats, some of the on-base skills. And then Hauser projects out okay. Lower mid-20s. Not a priority guy, but an inexpensive guy against a very gettable White Sox team. It's a reasonable consideration. White Sox at a 3.76 implied total. Brewers and the Rangers, mid-4s on both of those. Again, another, the slate does have spots back and forth. We're just looking at a lot of mid-4s and then at peak slate. But there are a lot of usable teams through here. It's Chad Patrick against Jack Leiter. Both of those pitchers can be good. It's not a definite go-to spot for bats. I think it's a 4 corners game clearly, though. The way the offenses are showing a little bit. It's a dead-even game, essentially, in Vegas. Patrick's most likely not giving you more than 5. Did go 5 1/3 in his most recent one, but came out after that, struck out 7 in that game. Prior to that, it was a run of, call it 6 starts in a row where he went exactly 5. On the other side, Leiter's been pitching a little bit deeper into games. 3.74 ERA, but a 4.62 xFIP underneath, pitching a little bit over his head so far in some of the results, but capable of being very good. But between the two, he's got the tougher matchup against the Brewers. Twins and the Angels, another one. Mid-4s total. I was just talking about this spot a minute ago. It's Kyle Hendricks on the mound for the Angels. That means all things Twins fire away. That is a very easy target to take. Zebby on the other side is a wild card on this slate. He's given up a lot of power through the season, 10 home runs to 282 hitters over his 13 games, his 64 2/3. But he struck out. He's got a high strikeout rate in the 26% range. The Angels are a ridiculously high strikeout team, but they've got ludicrous power. The problem there is that Zebby's been mostly limiting right-handed power, giving up a lot to lefties, and the Angels are heavily right-handed. It's going to be a real collision of factors. You'll see it when we get there, but Angels are showing a lot of power in the model just because of the raw collision of power index numbers. I would play Zebby, but I would definitely play the Angels going back the other way in some other lineups. Between the two things, I might be more interested in some contrarian Angels bats if Zebby gets a little bit popular, and I'll ride with the strikeouts, live or die. Ride or die. Reds and the Pods, low total for the Reds. They're going up against Michael King, who is making his return. He's been out for exactly a month. Confused me for a minute when I pulled up his game log. I was like, the 9th? That's today. How do they have 2 innings pitched already? That was against the Red Sox back on August 9th. That was the last we saw him. I gave him, what did I give him? 4.5. I think 4.5, 5 is a reasonable expectation here. And probably doesn't give you much more than that. Very, very talented pitcher. Reasonable enough matchup. He's the reason that the Reds are at a 3.21 implied total. But probably not a go-to spot considering a likely limitation there. And then Zach Littell targetable with Padres bats 4.38 implied total, but they're not really at the top of the board. That's a very playable lineup up and down, though. More of a secondary stack than a primary like go-to. Matthew Liberatore against the Mariners, pushing them up at a 4.43 implied total. Love that lineup as well, as far as just being loaded up and down with very high quality bats that are usable across slates and in different combinations as a secondary stack to put with one of the big teams. You can get to affordable bats, or you can get to star caliber bats from both them and the Padres. I like the way those teams work. It's George Kirby on the mound for the Mariners going up against the Cards, keeping them at a 3.16 implied total. That seems like a great spot. He's the top of the pitching board today. Love the looks of that. A somewhat resurgent Zach Gallen. He's been pretty good over his last 4, 5, 6, 7 outings. Been working 6 innings pretty consistently, limiting runs, finding a few Ks in some of the games, fewer in other games. But he's been much better over the this last recent stretch, basically since the beginning of August. So if we're getting return to form Zach Gallen here against a Giants team that's still pulling a 4.08 implied total against, they're not nothing on the other side. But I think he's playable. And then Robbie Ray, high danger pitcher. But when he's on, he's very, very good. 3.50 implied total on the Diamondbacks side, and that's a good lineup. But definitely a roller coaster. Robbie Ray in his last 3 starts, not great. 4 earned runs, 6 earned runs, 3 earned runs over 4 2/3, 4 1/3, and 5 innings. That was against the Rockies at Coors Field, 1 against Baltimore in the middle, and then at the Brewers. But when he's going right, can be a very good pitcher. And then we hit the big spots. Both teams in this game, the Red Sox and the A's, we're definitely getting the bats in that one. It's Jeffrey Springs, and it's the debut of Connolly Early, who, as of last check, is not available on either slate. Is the Red Sox like 6 overall prospect? I just gave him a little bit, just enough to put him on the board here. 5+ implied total on both sides. A's showing a ton of power in that tiny ballpark. Love that spot for a lot of runs. That one seems pretty likely to cash out some runs. And then it's German Marquez against Emmett Sheehan. And the night, Emmett Sheehan looks really, really good on his side. Has been working a little bit deeper into games, throwing more pitches. Last time out, 4 2/3, a little bit more limited. Struck out 6, walked 2 in that game, but threw a bunch of pitches. 7 innings and 6 innings. The 2 starts prior to that, the 6-inning start was at Colorado. He gave up 4 earned runs, but he struck out 7 in that one. And I like him to do a lot better as far as limiting the damage in LA. Gave up 2 home runs in that game. So love him. Love the Dodgers bats against German Marquez, which is just going to be like a batting tee for them. They lead the slate at a 5.86 implied total. Maybe some wild card Rockies coming back the other way against Sheehan. Still a young pitcher, really finding it. Has had a few bumps in the road this year, but they look more limited than anything else. Dodgers getting a lion's share of that. Pitching board. Hit the old like button. Subscribe to the channel. Is Early on DK now? All right, I'll grab him. I can't imagine he costs much. FanDuel probably didn't add him. Or just see what he costs. $72, damn. It's the easiest way to make that. I don't want to replace the whole DK spreadsheet because then I'll have some name changes for the stupid multiple Luis Garcias and everything. But if I just do, they use SP or SP. And then it's actually, I don't think any of that matters on the DraftKings side. And what did I say it was? 72. There you go. So now we got him with a price. But he slots in down here It's just not a good situation for a kid making his debut. I really don't like that spot. Supposedly got talent. We'll talk about him when we get to that spot, but that's where he's going to slot in. So that was just about getting him his price. He already had his projection. But George Kirby looks tremendous against a middle-of-the-road kind of a Cardinals team. We've been looking at that team, getting them wrong throughout the season, but George Kirby's going to help us get them right today. I love George Kirby. Love that spot. 10,000, fair price on both sites. There's plenty of upside available there. Robbie Ray in the 2 spot, I don't love, but you'll note that the board doesn't really peak crazy high. Like Kirby's at a decent medium projection there, and that's a decently high pitcher spot. But we don't have anybody else that's at or above the 35, nobody into the 40-point range on the FanDuel scale, nobody into the 20s on DraftKings. So it's very, very close between Ray, Bieber, Sheehan, Zebby, a couple spots later. Like, this is a broad tier of usable pitchers, but it doesn't really peak quite as high. I'd say George Kirby is your peak there, and maybe that's like a big plateau just beneath the peak. You know, like in the Everest movie, like they stop on that tier before they go up to the summit, kind of like that. And then they go up too late and everybody dies. Kind of like that. Bieber against Houston, not a team I love attacking, but a very talented pitcher. Should be capable of giving us 6 there. 10-3 on DraftKings feels a little bit dangerous, though. The most highly priced pitcher over there. I don't love that to tangle with the Astros. 96 on FanDuel works a little bit better, but that's still, priced the second highest priced pitcher. It's just relative to what you can put that together with hitting wise. That is a lower than, top end ace caliber pitcher price on FanDuel. DraftKings got him up to that top end. Love the look of Sheehan on both sides. 89, 9,000. If I'm getting 6 innings of him against that Colorado team, he is a decent strikeout pitcher. That is not a bad spot at all. Spencer Strider, I really question at 78, though. I love the price. 88 on DraftKings. That is a good price there, but the bargain is really, really there on FanDuel. That said, he's been bad. Strikeouts have been down. Cubs are fantastic. Don't love that spot at all as far as what the path to success really looks like. But if Strider finds it for a night, you feel foolish not playing him at that price. If you're building a bunch of lineups, he at least belongs in a few. Michael King, I just don't know what our ceiling looks like. Probably a day where those medians are also around our ceiling outside of just he does have the ability to blaze a trail through that lineup strikeout-wise. So there's a little bit of ceiling there, but it's not as high as it probably otherwise would be. Zebby's got a ton of ceiling on that number based on the strikeouts that are available in that Angels lineup and his success against righties. 7,700 on DraftKings, too, is very, very cheap. It's reflective of the downside that comes with the power that he allows. 9,000 on FanDuel, I think, is reflective of the upside that comes with the strikeouts that he gets. 82.79, Willie Warren priced down nicely. That is a good Tigers lineup, but there are Ks in there. Will Warren's been good. He does give up premium contact, but has been pretty decent at limiting home runs. So a little bit of a challenge spot here, I would say, for Warren, going up against another playoff caliber team. Interesting, just a little measuring contest between these two teams in September. Those are very good prices, though. I think Will Warren's playable. And again, there's no daylight between his projections here and these projections there. Less than a strikeout difference. Same thing's true for Zach Gallen against San Francisco. And again, very good pricing, 87, 84. I know he's been rough this year, but given the recent form and who he's been throughout his career, that is a good spot. Chad Patrick, capable enough at 88 and 7,000, feels like a bargain against a up and down Texas team. Chad Patrick's more than good enough to beat that price. Lighter on the other side of that game is priced the exact same way. 88 on FanDuel, same price. 75 on DraftKings. I'd probably rather have Chad Patrick going against Texas than Jack Leiter against Milwaukee, just the way those teams play this year. Ultimately, I think Leiter is the better of those two pitchers, but I'd rather have Patrick, but it's very close. You can see a little bit of separation there projection-wise, though. Hauser at 8,000, 8,600. I mentioned that he would be a reasonable cheap option, and I still think he is. It's probably more of a FanDuel play at 8, considering how low priced Patrick, Leiter, Warren, Zebby, Strider, even Sheehan at 9. I don't know that 86 for Hauser is all that cheap anymore. Luis Garcia, I definitely don't love. 81 on FanDuel is cheap enough to throw the dart, but I really wouldn't do it against a low strikeout, just good sequencing Toronto team. 92 on DraftKings, I'm even further away from it. Liberatore against Seattle, I'm seeing more offense there, but at 66, just to throw the dart at a cheap pitcher who is capable of giving you 6 decent innings against that team, no problem with it as an SP2 if you're just dipping into the bargain bin. Littell, don't love that one. Padres are a little bit realistically lower middle strikeout with a lot of upside going against, and Littell's just not that good. Casey Mize is decent, 84-71. You're just tangling with the Yankees. There are definitely strikeouts, though. Wouldn't stun me at all. Again, if Casey Mize had a decent 6 innings, kept the Yankees to a low score, kept the ball in the yard, and found 6.5, 7.5 strikeouts. I almost said 8, but I didn't want to go to 8. I don't know what his over-under is, but I'm sure those are over. Jeffrey Springs against Boston, no thank you. Just that ballpark, all the power showing out there just doesn't really work. Horton, again, just I think we're limited for pitch count there, and those prices don't really work for that. Hendricks is a target. Early, I think, is a target, and Marquez and Gomez definitely targets. What's going on, Rabbit Hole? Beyond the Rabbit Holes here. Thanks, Tiz. Tiz gave me the price there. Nice, Cap. That'll do. Cap saying my NFL line died early last night. Tilted and live bet Seattle, Minnesota, Boston, the Dodgers, and San Diego money lines and won $1,137 on FanDuel. We take those. Get this money tonight. Absolutely take those, dude. Nice. Solid payout. Who else is out there? Said hi. Clintwood, I think. Yeah, we said hi. Tiz. Bunch of other people out there hanging out. So let's dig into this thing. The website, by the way, is rotoscouts.com. Everything's under $1 a day right now. You get access to football and baseball for that same under $1 a day price. Everything, one price only. No per sport nonsense. Go check it out. Probably drop another promo code on you at some point. If not this week, next week. We'll see. Stay tuned. But check it out. It is inexpensive, under $1 a day, access to everything on that website. Hockey and basketball, not far away. I heard the opening day for basketball yesterday, and I shuddered. Not looking forward to everything going on at the same time. Tigers bats going against Will Warren. Willie coming in at 79.82. Again, very fairly priced. Opposing lineup has a 23.1% strikeout rate with a lot of their better bats through the middle, striking out a little bit more aggressively than that. Riley Green, 30.7%. Torkelson, 25%. Those are excellent bats, though. Especially love the lefties from that Tigers lineup in Yankee Stadium. Always a bump to lefty bats in this ballpark for power, and those guys do have power. Will Warren gives up a 10.4% barrel. This is where my concerns arise. 46.3% hard hits is ludicrously high. 91.3 miles an hour of exit velocity on average, also extremely, extremely high. 12.1 degree average launch is kind of stuck in the middle. It's not too many fly balls. It's not too few. 2.75% home runs. Given the other factors here, probably a little lucky to be there, especially in half his games coming in Yankee Stadium. But he's gotten away with it. He's cut the walks down under 10%, but only just under 25% strikeout, 9.2% swinging. This was a little higher early in the season. He's lost a little bit of strike throwing. 4.28 ERA, 3.83 xFIP. They've mostly managed his innings throughout the year. He hasn't been completely limited. He's been let go a few times. But the last few starts, he's back to kind of being managed. He's also given up a few runs. But had a clean one the other day against the White Sox on the 28th. Went 5. Gave up. Yeah, that's right. It was unearned. He did give up the unearned runs. I forgot about that. 4 unearned runs. Struck out 3, walked 2, but hadn't given up an earned run. Faced 24 hitters out after 5. 2 earned runs in the next one against Houston. Came out after 5 and only 19 hitters. Struck out 4, walked nobody in that game. 4 innings, 4 2/3 the 2 starts prior to that. So it's been a minute again since we've seen him complete even pitch into the 6th. In a challenge spot, if everything's going right, I think they probably would let him try and get through the 6th. Just to give the little bump baseball manager psychology-wise. But if there's any kind of challenge in that 6th inning, any runner on or anything like that, I think it's going to be a quick hook if we even get that. He's correctly priced for that kind of an opportunity against this team. He's not the top end option. He's not an extreme go-to. But again, from down here, when not that many people are going to be going to that, those prices definitely work on this board. So somebody to keep in mind, but definitely a high danger opponent on the other side. There's a little bit of weather in the area. Roth's got it green and just mostly mentions the wind, and then just a few drops of rain might come down or something to that effect. So I'm not worried about it, but just to mention it. 387 implied total, I think, does a lot of the talking for Will Warren here. But the Tigers' bats are definitely in play. There's a lot of quality there. Casey Mize at 71 at 84. 20% strikeouts, a 6% walk rate. Pretty solid, and that's a good kind of a pitcher to throw at these Yankees because he's not going to give away the walks. They're excellent at working walks anyway, even against low walk pitchers. So it's not like you're completely taking it away. But it's less likely that he's going to be out there with just, 11 runners on, and it's up to the Yankees to fail rather than him to succeed. He can pitch his way through this team. 3.87 ERA, a 4.11 xFIP, a 10.2% swinging strike rate works well against this squad. He has given up a lot of premium contact and power. It's similar numbers to Will Warren on the other side, just with fewer barrels, a little bit less exit velo, but we're a 1/10 of a mile an hour below our exit velocity threshold. We're over the hard hit threshold. That's a lot of barrels. 3.20% home runs is about right, or maybe a little tiny bit low for those numbers. And these are ridiculous home run hitters on the other side. Mize at 71, though, at 84, definitely works on both sides. Not all that dissimilar from, the other middle type guys or lower middle type guys on the board, but Warren a few notches higher. Considering the $200 price difference in Warren's favor on FanDuel, I'd say he's the better option. But again, wouldn't surprise me at all if Casey Mize outpitched him today. We're looking at Tigers bats. Glaber up top, 42-32, having a nice year. 15 home runs, a 115 WRC plus, a ridiculous 15% strikeouts against 13.6% walks. Those are elite numbers in those two categories. 8.7% barrel rate. He's dipped a little bit in the average. He's dipped a lot in his ISO in terms of where his power used to be. But this has been a very productive version of Gleyber Torres. He's getting on at a 362 pace ahead of their power bats. Doing everything you can want, and he's very affordable. And a little bit of a revenge narrative for him today, if you're into that sort of thing. I'm not. Kerry Carpenter at 45-31, 23 home runs, a 250 ISO. The 23 homers coming in only 409 plate appearances. Dude is a masher from the left side. That's a major, major source of power in Yankee Stadium. 12.5% barrels, 46.4% hard hits. You get Riley Green in the 3 spot, rather. Yeah, this lineup's still not confirmed. Love Riley Green's upside, given the 17.5% barrels, the 44.6% hard hits. Same thing with Torque at 12.8 and 43.3 from the right side. You can see how these three guys with their power numbers kind of collide with that. And it's kind of true for Winfield Perez and Colt Keith as well. Really like Colt Keith's bat. Winfield's really come along nicely this season. They've both got a dozen home runs. Winfield's got a 211 ISO in his 310 plate appearances. Getting on at a 332 clip. Solid XWOB under the surface, a 123 WRC plus. Colt Keith in 440 plate appearances, holding up nicely, a 106 WRC plus, a tremendous 350 XWOB under the surface. Excellent contact numbers. Drawn a lot of walks. This is Colt Keith. Again, I've been saying it for most of the season. This is him finally, really fulfilling his pedigree a little bit. What I'm really looking forward to is next year for Colt Keith. I think we see the big breakout, the big step forward next year. But he's been good this year. And he's only 38. He's 3,000 on FanDuel, has first and second base eligibility to go with his third base eligibility. The Tigers overall are inexpensive. Only Riley is at 5,000 on DraftKings, 36 on FanDuel, and these guys are a little bit more relatively high priced, but very easy to reach in Yankee Stadium. Green leads the team at 32 home runs. You've got 28 from Torkelson, and then again, a solid stretch of mid-board type power. Any one of those guys is capable. And these are quality enough players that you can put two of those guys in a lineup. It's not a situation where it's like, you only want one of those guys where they're going to really limit your upside. These are very good bats. Zach McKinstry's quality, draws a fair amount of walks, 11 home runs. He's also stolen 19 bases, getting on at a 342 clips, got a 118 WRC plus. Dingler has been driving the ball all season. Very solid premium contact, a good slash line, 12 home runs. 151 ISO, but a 357 xWOBA that says we could expect a little bit more production from him, or at least that this is real. 108 WRC plus from him. And then Parker Meadows back at a cheap price, 25-24. It's another solid left-handed bat that's capable. It's been a bad 143 plate appearances from him. Last year it was a pretty rough 298, but at least he showed a little pop. 9 home runs, 9 stolen bases, a 189 ISO. Year before that, 3 home runs and 145 plate appearances and a cup of coffee. It's an interesting little mixer down there if he's in the lineup. If he climbs up to anywhere in this kind of territory, even more so. On the Yanks side, Trent Grisham still leading off. Monster, 350 on base, 30 home runs. I've already apologized to him on a show, but again, one of the guys I had more wrong this year. Did not think he was capable of holding it up, but he has been fantastic. 131 WRC plus on the season, a 232 ISO, making great contact all year. Just getting on base ahead of Aaron Judge was enough, but doing all this in addition to it, it's tremendous. Judge at 64, at 47, no price is high enough. 321, 443, 656, 43 home runs, a 335 ISO, a 455 xWOBA, a 192 WRC plus. Just ridiculous. Cody, Ben Rice, Giancarlo Stanton, Jazz Chisholm. It's a bounty. Yankee fans are spoiled with this group. 49-34 for Belly, not bad. 27 home runs, 11 stolen bases out of him, a 222 ISO. Just look at all the 200-plus ISOs. The power is very real. As I've said before, there's a reason that this team is always projecting super high, and it's because they have just mashers in basically every spot. Ben Rice at 47-32 has 23 home runs, a 235 ISO. He's also got a 407 xWOB under the surface. 20.2% strikeouts against 9.9% walks and ridiculous premium contact. Kid is just good. Giancarlo Stanton, one of the best home run hitters of the last 30 years. 19 on the season and just 216 plate appearances, a 328 ISO, 21.4% barrels, 54% hard hits. Looks exactly like Giancarlo Stanton to me. Jazz Chisholm at 54 at 37 has 28 homers and 27 stolen bases. Gets on at a 336 clip to help pay off the speed and the correlated scoring. And major power from him from the left side. Major premium contact numbers. 251 ISO. Austin Wells has a 227 ISO, and he's up to 20 home runs. This 9-man lineup has an average home run total of 25. It's ridiculous. The opposing team that hits a fair number of home runs themselves has an average 9-man total of 16. Now, granted, that's a little skewed by that 3. If you want to do the 8-man, 18, not close. Anthony Volpe is bad. 19 home runs, 16 stolen bases. The counting stats are good. 207, 269, 396, and 82 WRC plus. He's very cheap. He makes very good contact when he happens to connect. Doesn't draw enough walks, strikes out too much. Flawed in many, many ways. But very playable in stacks of Yankees, because when he does connect, he's going to be very cheap. He's going to be much lower owned than the rest of these guys and just makes things work. If you're going to a secondary team that doesn't have a premium shortstop that you need, that's an interesting bat at worst. And then Ryan McMahon is just good. 12.1% barrels, 50.8% hard hits, numbers that jibe with everything he's ever done. Strikes out a ton, but draws a ton of walks. He's a 3 true outcomes guy. 19 home runs, lefty bat again in Yankee Stadium. That's a good option at 33, at 29 on FanDuel. Makes things work. Capable of being a wraparound guy, given his ability to draw walks. Up and down, Yankees lineup really works. Yankees bats will win. I mean, it's a sub-4 total. Feels a little homerish for me, but Yankees bats, Will Warren. Tigers bats, Casey Mize. But it is a 4-corner spot. I think the Tigers are more on the board than that sub-4 total might suggest. A lot of danger here for Will Warren. Could easily put the Tigers above him in that ranking. Astros lineup came in while we were talking about the Yankees. Grab this one. So sub 4 implied total for a very good Astros lineup, especially with the improvement that was made when Jordan came back. It's just up and down, at least through the 7-8 spots. It's a solid team. Not a safe spot for Shane Bieber. He's been fantastic in his 3 starts, though. 32% strikeouts against 3.1% walks so far, a 4.15 ERA, but a 2.03 xFIP. Phenomenal, microscopic. 0.81 whip, not putting anybody on base. He's given up a little premium contact, a lot of barrels, hard hits, exit velo in there, but it's been on a 6.5 degree average launch. So we're not exactly in high danger territory as far as the home run ball. 13.7% swinging, 33% CSW. He's been outrageous. Last time out, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks. Did give up 5 earned. That was at Cincinnati, as mentioned. 6 strikeouts in the game before that. 2 earned over 5 1/3 against the Brewers. And then the 9 strikeout game. 1 run on 2 hits against the Marlins over 6 in his first start. So it's been a fantastic 3 starts over 2 weeks. We'll see where it goes. I don't love this for a target for him, though. He was tremendous at the beginning of last year and then was hurt and was out for all of that time. But prior to that, that 44 and the 30-something this year so far, in 21 starts back in 2023, he was a 20% strikeout pitcher. In 31 starts the year before, he was a 25% strikeout pitcher. I buy that this is the real Shane Bieber. And the swinging strike rate and CSW numbers are very good and not dissimilar from where he's at this year. The walk rate is appreciably low against the strikeout rate. The xFIP and ERA numbers are tremendous. He is very, very good. My question is this real? Is a jump from 25-ish percent strikeouts to 30 plus going to be real, going to be sustained? And this Astros team comes in with a 17.9% collective strikeout rate. The only strikeout target in that lineup is Christian Walker, and he didn't used to be a strikeout target. He spiked up from 19.2 back in 23 to 24.1 last year and now up to 27.2. So he's definitely been more of a strikeout target lately. But everybody else, 20.7 is Jesus Sanchez is the next one. That's an improved number for him. He was 26% the last couple of years, but that's a good bat. And he's been very low strikeout this year, and everybody else is sub 20%. And those under 20% numbers are primarily in the mid-teens, not like 19.7. So it's a very tough spot for Bieber at 10-3 on DraftKings. 96 on FanDuel, you at least get a little discount from, again, not necessarily relative to everybody else on this slate, but relative to where a pitcher of that caliber might normally be priced. You are getting a little bit of a discount on FanDuel. Just makes him more playable because of how bats can click together with him. Luis Garcia on the other side. I'm realizing that's drawing the wrong Luis Garcia's numbers, which is a pain in the ass. Can I do this quick? Probably not. You know what? I'm not even going to bother. It's just 1 start. What's the point? Made 1 start, 6 innings, 3 earned runs, struck out 6, gave up the 2 home runs. That was against the Angels. And then did make starts from mid-July through the end of August in the minors. Was bouncing around a little bit, just grabbing assignments, mostly in AAA, though. Pitched to a 3.30 ERA over that stretch. Gave up a handful of home runs, struck out 38 of 122 hitters. This is roughly, 25%? Wasn't bad, definitely in the minors, and is a pitcher that we've seen, succeed at the major league level in the past. These are all the wrong Luis Garcia, I think, except for maybe this one. I hate this multiple names thing with no indicator. Let me pull. .28 starts back in 2022. Struck out 24.4%, walked 7.3. Pitched to a 3.72 ERA, a 3.82 xFIP. Year before that, 155 innings, a 3.48 ERA, 3.93 xFIP, 26.4% strikeouts against 7.9% walks. So again, has been a good pitcher at this level in the past. It's just a really tough opponent in the Blue Jays. They're even lower strikeout than the Astros are. So two pitchers that I do think are quality arms. I just don't like the spot for either, but between the two, I would definitely go to Shane Bieber ahead of Luis Garcia. 4.71 implied total for the Blue Jays versus the sub-4 total for the Astros. If you're going to Astros bats, Jeremy Pena, Jordan Alvarez, Carlos Correa, Jose Altuve, everybody on DraftKings is pretty cheap. Carlos Correa is $3,500 for a player who's an above-average, 101 WRC plus. Rock solid 341 xWOBA under the surface. Slashing 274, 326, 394. Those are okay numbers. 11 home runs. Hard hit rate of 46.6%, sub 20% strikeout rate. Why is he 3,500? He's 29 on FanDuel. That's also very, very cheap. Why is Altuve 41? 32 on FanDuel is more expensive than that, but also very cheap. 24 home runs, a 112 WRC plus. Pena's just been good all year. 304, 363, 470. You could easily have had him higher priced on both sites. Jordan Alvarez is literally one of the best hitters in baseball. FanDuel got it at least mostly right at 37, but that's a $4,000 player. DraftKings, I don't know what they're doing. 4,300. I hope you guys are playing that just every single day. Like in one-off shares, in every single Houston stack, until they correct that price back to like 5,800. Take the $1,500 discount on Jordan Alvarez pretty much regardless of who's on the mound. I don't know if I've emphasized that enough. Jesus Sanchez at 36, at 27. 13 home runs, a 167 ISO, a 103 WRC plus. Those numbers are okay. And again, he's improved strikeout significantly year over year. And he's always made excellent contact. Look at those contact numbers over the last 3 years. That is a lurking star who's just never really been able to draw out the results from the ludicrously good contact that he makes. 18 home runs last year, medium strength slash line, 166 ISO, dead at league average. 14 home runs the year before and 402 plate appearances, 197 ISO, a 109 WRC plus. Not bad, but again, medium slash line. 251, 252, 253 averages over those 3 years. 318, 313, 327 on base percentages. But there's talent here, and there's an extreme ability to drive the ball. Walker, as bad as he's been, is up to 22 home runs now. Still been making great contact when he's been connecting. He's just striking out a lot more, not drawing nearly as much walk as he used to. He's not the same hitter, but he's still a dangerous hitter. Yeah, it was too large a sample. He's hit 9 home runs since the beginning of August, a 266 ISO over that stretch. The slash line is bad, 227, 298, 492. The slug is obviously good. 115 WRC plus over that stretch, though. That's where the powers really come back. If I limit it to like 126 WRC plus with a 242, 275, 561 slash and a 318 ISO since August 21st. 6 of those home runs. Striking out at a ridiculous 31.9% rate and only walking 2.9% in that tiny sample, though. Again, a lot of flaws visible with Christian Walker now, but that's why he's 34. That's why he's 31. And that DraftKings price obviously way lower. Jake Myers at 37-28, mix and match quality outfielders, having a nice year, 305, 365, 399, 116 WRC plus. Just doesn't provide a ton of individual contributions, more correlated scoring guy with that excellent ability to get on base. Johnny Diaz disappointed most of the season, but 250, 281, 408 from a catcher with 18 home runs on the board is okay and makes good contact still. Very low strikeout, low walk, so you get a lot of that good contact for that price. And then Mauricio Dubon, a mix and match utility type guy. George Springer's a star, 5,000, 3,500, very fair for a guy with 27 home runs, 16 stolen bases, a 160 WRC plus. Nathan Lukes at 33-27 has been good at getting on base, 329 this year, 257, 329, 401. There's a 103 WRC plus. Low strikeout, high walk, 13.7 against 9.2, and those are attributes that he showed in the past. Just doesn't hit the ball particularly hard, but as a table setter between Springer and Vladdy, kind of works. I just continue to think that the 2 spot is not a correct way to use that guy in that lineup, but he's there and you can take it. 48 is too cheap for Vladdy on DraftKings. 34 on FanDuel. 23 home runs, a 198 ISO. The power has emerged somewhat in the second half, but not really. That said, he's been just consistently hitting the ball exactly like he has in the past in terms of the premium contact numbers. 14% strikeouts against 12% walks, 148 WRC plus, and a 408 xWOBA. So in a lot of ways, he has been perfectly fine. Still one of the best bats in baseball. Take advantage at 48. Dalton Varsho at 45-35 has 18 home runs and 207 plate appearances, a 357 ISO, just an outrageous stretch of power output from him. I continue to think that he's not going to consistently hit this many home runs at this kind of a pace. 17.6% barrel. He's been doing it and paying it off. Comes with a lot of strikeouts. Going to be a lot of bad days in the future. For those that roster Dalton Varsho so aggressively, but 4,500 remains cheap for a guy who's been hitting these home runs. You're not really paying much tax for them. 35 on FanDuel, you kind of are paying that tax, but he leads the team at 9.99 in the home run model against Garcia here. Alejandro Kirk's having a great year, 294, 361, 425, consistently on base. Hits for a little bit of power. It has an excellent barrel and hard hit rate. 12 home runs, just a 132 ISO. The results come and go, but overall, 3,600, 2,700 is tremendous price-wise for such a productive bat at the catcher spot. Addison Barger at 4,000, 2,900 has been a little up and down through the season. Found a ton of power and really helped this team when he first arrived. And overall, the numbers look pretty good. 19 home runs at 212 ISO, 11.6% barrel, 51.2% hard hit. Multi-position eligible at third and outfield for a very fair price. Ernie Clement at 32 at 26 has a solid slash line. Just a 95 WRC plus, a concerning 293 xWOBA because he doesn't hit the ball hard, but he makes nothing but contact. He's constantly putting the ball in play on that 10.8% strikeout, 4.4% walk. So that makes him playable for DFS. It makes him, very erratic as far as what the production looks like, and he still relies on the other guys in the lineup to drive him in once he's on. But that's a productive enough bat here and there that you can play him for those cheap prices and use him. I like him a lot better where I can get him at second on FanDuel for 26 rather than a third baseman on DraftKings. That is a little bumpy. Wish he had outfield eligibility maybe, but he's playable. Joey Lurperfido at the dead min is downright interesting on both sites. In his 89 plate appearances early in the season was pretty damn good. 358, 409, 506, a 159 WRC plus, 3 home runs, and has been a bat that has kind of people have been waiting on. In 2023 in Houston's organization, from high A through AAA, most of the work at AAA, at AA and AAA, he hit 25 home runs, stole 27 bases, /278, 370, 510, 129 WRC plus. That was as a 24-year-old. Last year, dipped a little bit in, actually, no, it was only 200 and change plate appearances, or 189 AAA plate appearances was very good. Missed some time in there. Made another chunk of plate appearances in the show, though. 262 plate appearances in the show and wasn't good. 4 home runs, 4 stolen bases, a 214, 264, 350 slash line across the Astros and Blue Jays. But again, this year has been very good in a brief stint in the show. Over 373 plate appearances in AAA this year was okay. 264, 341, 401. It's not a bad slash line. 137 ISO. The power was out a little bit oddly. Stole 11 bases, hit 7 home runs. 101 WRC plus. So he's productive. Age 26 at the AAA level is a little bit up there. But at these prices, especially given what he's done in another tiny stint here, it's not a scratch off anyway. Andres Jimenez at 32 at 26, mix and match quality, if that. 213, 290, 316. Ouch. Blue Jays bats. Shane Bieber, but with a lot of caution. Big asterisk with that one. Astros bats next, and then Luis Garcia after that, and I just really don't like where he lands price-wise. Cubs and the Braves. Cubbies lineup is in. That Tigers lineup came in as well. Colt Keith leadoff, which is excellent. Love the upside there. Get that lefty up top. Glaber, Carpenter, Riley, Torkelson, Wensil Perez, 6. McKinstry, Dingler, Parker Meadows. Same guys we talked about, slightly different order with Keith jumping up to the top. Cubbies and the Braves. So, again, I just think we're going to hit that innings limit with Cade Horton. They seem to be managing the pitch counts lately. Pull it back up here. Last time out, 75 pitches. Going back in time, 70, 74, 61 against the Brewers. I'm not sure what happened there. 2 2/3, 4 hits, 1 earned run. I don't know why that might have been a shortened game. They went on to lose 7-0. Not sure what happened in that one. 82, 67, 71. So it's been since basically July that he's cracked true pitch counts. 84, 86, 94, 90 through his July starts. So if we're just getting 75, 80 pitches, and maybe they're going to bring him back up a little bit, so it might be 80, 85. But still, if we run into a little bit of that against a still good Braves team that has Ronald Acuna hitting 7th today, I continue to not understand that, but okay. There's just so much danger here, and if we're only getting 75, 80 pitches without a lot of ceiling on it, I don't love it. If we had a full 6, if we had full 100 pitch count for Horton, he is good enough to get through this team. 2.78 ERA, but a 4.28 xFIP on the season. 20.6% strikeout, not exactly ideal, but induces an 11.6% swinging strike. So there's more upside there. 28.6% CSW overall. Has a 10+% barrel that doesn't play great against the Braves power. 41% hard hit, just under the exit velo threshold, but only a 2.13% home run rate. A little bit lucky to be at that level. Strider on the other side at 88, at 78. It's so tempting at those cheap prices, but the Cubs are good. They're a great sequencing team. There's power. They don't give away strikeouts. They can draw walks. Strider's walking 9.4% in addition to the strikeouts being down. While that's still a 13.6% swinging strike rate, having him dip to 24.2% strikeouts, which in a vacuum is a good number, but not a good number for him and a significant downgrade for him. While he's giving up all that power, while he's putting extra guys on base via the walk, it's just been bumpy. It's probably not going to be back to form maybe ever, but hopefully next season. But I doubt we see it down the stretch here in September, really. 4.97 ERA, but the quality shows a little bit in that 4.12 xFIP. It's still way higher than we would expect from such a good pitcher. But those prices, oof. The 4.31 implied total should help keep us away. The quality of the Cubs should help keep us away. I do think you can throw that dart, though. If you're building more than 3 lineups, he should probably be in one of them, especially on DK where you're using 2 pitchers at a time. On FanDuel, maybe it's if you're building 5 lineups, he should be your 5th. It's just cheap enough. Makes so much work with bats. And again, the upside is still there. I don't want to start talking into selling it now. Michael Busch at the top of the Cubs. Cubbies are also cheap. No Kyle Tucker, but still. Those are good bats for really cheap prices on DraftKings to throw at this version of Strider. On FanDuel, they're priced correctly where you would expect them. Those are cheap. So Busch for 43, for 34, has 26 home runs this year, a 228 ISO, 129 WRC plus. Strikes out a fair amount of the time, 24%, but walks 8.9%. Those numbers collide with Strider pretty well. And the premium contact is ridiculous. Ian Happ is only 3,900. He's 3,500 on FanDuel. Almost the same price site to site. 20 home runs on the season. 172 ISO is definitely down for Happ overall, but it comes with an excellent 21.7% strikeout against the 13.5% walk rate. 339 on base. Guys on base all the time, setting the table all the time. Move back up the lineup a little bit here too. He took a bad dip during the middle of the season, but has completely recovered. Seiya Suzuki, speaking of bad dips in the middle of the season, stuck at 27 home runs for a minute now, but still carrying a 219 ISO, still makes good contact, still productive. 370 xWOB under the surface, a 117 WRC plus for the season. It remains a very, very high-quality right-handed power bat. It's just been a minute since he's really shown it. PCA, 46-35, also took a dip, 28 home runs, 32 steals. I feel like he's been stuck at those two numbers for more than a minute now. The on-bases plummeted to 291. It's problematic there, but a 332 xWOB with a 241 ISO holds up. The premium contact numbers mostly hold. 40.9% hard hit should be higher against that 12.3% barrel, and all the quality he showed earlier in the season shows the degree to which he's backslid here, but that was kind of to be expected. All that talent wasn't just an illusion, though. He is that good. It's just being that good for a full season is a different story. But if you're just spiking options against Spencer Strider, let other people skip PCA because he's a little bit pricey on DK at 46 compared to everybody else. Take advantage. Nico at 38, 3,000, good on base guy, good stolen base bonus guy, correlated scoring. Carson Kelly at 41, 3,000 at 16 homers, a 196 ISO. That's a productive catcher, especially one that strikes out so little and walks so much. That's an excellent bat to plug in at the position for a very cheap price. Willie Castro, more than adequate as far as a mix and match guy across multiple positions for a cheap price. 11 home runs, 10 stolen bases. He's not had a great season overall, but he's a more productive bat than he's been this year over time. Dansby Swanson at 39, at 32 has 22 home runs, 14 steals, a 175 ISO, 100 WRC plus, right at league average, but makes better contact than that. Has been historically better than that. The 22 home runs are on pace, so are the 14 steals. The things we care about, the counting stats, have been very, very productive. Matt Shaw at the bottom of the lineup, not as much, 92 WRC plus, just okay in terms of the counting stats, but does fill all the categories. So somebody to keep in mind if you're just looking at a spot filler for a cheap price. He's not dead at the plate despite some very weak numbers across over here. On the Braves side, very talented Jurickson Profar continues to lead off, getting on base at a 355 clip, a 221 ISO, solid contact, excellent low strikeout against a high walk rate, matches last year's production, and honestly, the year before that as well, before his breakout last year. Got to say, it's, you got to give him credit. It seems like it's very, very real. Once upon a time was one of the best prospects in baseball. Took a minute. Development's not linear. He's real. 5,000, 3,800. Don't love those prices for him. I think Cade Horton, while he's in the game, will be good. But he's also a little bit targetable. If you're going this direction, Profar is not a bad option. Matty Olson, I love the option at 46 at 33. He's up to 23 home runs. Got a couple in the last few days. 194 ISO that we need to get back over 200. Everything else has been intact all year long, though. 12.9% walks is up from last year. It's reminiscent of 2 years ago. Premium contact numbers are excellent at 13.1, 53.7. 132 WRC plus. It's just been that slowdown as far as the actual home run output goes. But if he surges here, there's no reason to think he couldn't hit another 3-4 the rest of the way. Ozzy Albies at 4,000, 3,000 has been outrageous over the last month or so. Reclaiming his talent. Still very, very cheap and hitting third now in this lineup. Drake Baldwin at 39, 3,000 has 15 home runs. Solid 172 ISO, a 122 WRC plus, and an excellent 365 xWOB under the surface. Makes great contact and has all year long. Very, very cheap where you have to play the position. And Albies being that cheap as well, given his recent surge and the spot filler at second base, that's an excellent pairing just right there in the middle of the lineup. Ha-Seong Kim, kind of mix and matchy, 3,100, 2,600. That's a weird one. I don't know why they would have him hitting fifth and then Ronald Acuna hitting seventh. That doesn't really make sense. Like, if you want to downgrade Acuna, fine, but put him fifth behind Baldwin here. Ozuna's not even in the lineup. Mikey Harris at 3,400, 3,000 has been good over the last 2 months or so. It cooled off a little bit again, but 17 home runs, 16 stolen bases, a 78 WRC plus for the season. There's some good in there. There's some bad in there. It's a very talented player to get at 3,400 at 3,000. Acuna's appropriately priced at 56, 4,000. That's correct. That's where Jordan Alvarez should be. Again, that's like the same kind of guy. Acuna probably slight edge in terms of the overall fantasy production. but they should be priced the same. That's just to illustrate how cheap Jordan is in that other game. There's nothing wrong with Acuna. 15 home runs and 329 plate appearances, 272, 398, 485, a 213 ISO, a 146 WRC plus. Jake Fraley at 3,000, 2,500, mix and match quality outfielder. And Nacho's come on a little bit. The hit tool's starting to show a little bit. That's really all he is right now. We'll see where it goes. Just hit tool focus. Maybe you can wrap him around from the bottom, but you're kind of relying on a little BABIP there. I think all four things here are playable, and I don't know how to rank them. I don't really like either pitcher, but I'm tempted by those cheap prices on Strider. I don't think we can put Horton at the top, even though he's going to be good for 5 innings. I don't think we're going to get more than that. You could put the Cubs up top, but they've been not as good, and you're attacking Spencer Strider, and if Strider comes out on form at all, that's going to be a bad move. I can't really put the Braves on top because of how they project. It's a conundrum. I'm going to go. Screw it. He projects among the top pitchers. He's in that giant plateau. Spencer Strider, Cubs bats, Braves bats, Cade Horton, but only because he's probably only going 5. If Horton were getting a full start, I think he'd rank above the Braves bats. White Sox and the Rays. We got these ones in. If you were new for the baseball show over the last couple of days, when we also had football to contend with, and you're used to a little bit faster of a pace than this on this show, this is the real version of this show. Take our time, wander through these games a little bit. Michael Knack says, the only thing I don't like from Terry is the Yankees slobber. I really don't, man. I feel like I'm very honest about the Yankees. Yeah, Cap, I agree with Cap. We're spoiled with that group of hitters. They're just outrageous. It's a just ridiculous collection of players. It's not my fault that that's their lineup. Anytime I rave about them, I try and... I'm not even wearing that hat today. But, yeah, I try and be fair about it. I always talk about how gettable they are in terms of good pitchers being able to beat them, all the strikeouts that are available in that lineup, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, I know you're mostly kidding, by the way. Rays lineup, pretty decent looking against Yoendrys Gomez, who's been totally targetable since he debuted 5 starts ago. 4.79 ERA, a 5.31 xFIP, 13% walks against, 20.8% strikeouts. No reason in the world to play Gomez on the mound. Definitely looking to target him with some pretty good Rays bats up top. And then going the other way, Adrian Hauser at 86, 8,000. Again, has been capable this year. 3.01 ERA against a 4.37 xFIP. Obviously, the xFIP is the more correct number. 17.6% strikeout, I think, is where we take our bow and say no thank you to Mr. Hauser at these prices. I was tempted to say that he was going to be on the board because he projects out all right at 12, at 20, at 25 and a half. But given the way that the entire slate is priced, I don't think we need him. It wouldn't stun me if he had a very effective start here, but I don't know that we need him. And why go to a low strikeout guy when we've got a bunch of like mid-20s or lower 20s strikeouts and separate by 5-6 points going up the ladder for better prices? It's a good target matchup, though. 3.76 implied total on the other side. I would not, again, not be surprised at all if Adrian Hauser was good here. Last time out, 7 innings, gave up 4 earned runs to the Mariners, but struck out 8. That is a pretty good Adrian Hauser performance. 4 innings of 1-run ball, 6 hits against the Nationals. Weird one there. 6 1/3 of 4-run ball against the Cards. Again, a better team than the White Sox. Only struck out 2 in that one, though. That's your typical Adrian Hauser start. 5 pretty good innings against the Giants on August 16th. No runs on 4 hits, struck out 6, walked 0. That would be your upside day. I think that would be a direct comp to like maybe 1 extra inning there. That would be about expectation if he pitches really, really well today. And I don't think that wins the slate. So playable, but probably not necessary. Probably should be a little bit cheaper, just given where, again, a lot of these other dudes slot in. Everybody right here is essentially the same for very similar prices, and he's offset from that group a little bit. If we're looking at raised bats, I like Chandler Simpson from the leadoff role. I continue to hate that $4,800 price on DraftKings. $3,000 on FanDuel seems a little bit more reasonable. Excellent hit tool, rocket speed, 39 stolen bases and 372 plate appearances while getting on at a 321 clip that's almost entirely driven by BABIP. 16.5% hard hit, no barrels illustrates the nature of the hitter. He just puts the ball in play and beats it to first base, but he's very good at it, and he's a good table setter, good correlated scorer with a little stolen base bonus upside. That is a big price to pay for that skill set, though, at $4,800 on DraftKings. $5,000, $3,200 for Yandy Diaz is appropriate. 52% hard hits. He's hit 22 home runs this year, 292, 350, 472 slash line, a 125 WRC plus. Just Yandy being Yandy. He is excellent up at the top of the lineup. Low strikeout, upper medium walk rate, not a bad hitter at all. Easy to reach. Brendan Lau at 53 at 34, 28 home runs, I believe still leads all second basemen, 12.8% barrel rate, 47% hard hits on the year, a 224 ISO. Just Brendan Lau being himself, 493 plate appearances. Typically for him, the most important thing is actually being able to be on the field, and he's done that mostly this year. 118 WRC plus, tremendous. Junior Caminero just turned into one of the best power hitters in baseball, basically out of the shell. 41 home runs, a 274 ISO in his age 21 season. He is outrageous. Take advantage. 55-38 is very expensive, but easy enough to reach if you're building a full stack with this team. Josh Lowe at 45 at 31, underperforming his talent all year, but 10 home runs, 17 steals, a 93 WRC plus, a 158 ISO you can quibble with. That's a better player than that. I feel like he is kind of consistently priced around the memory of who he is rather than who he's been this season, though. You are paying a little bit of Josh Lowe name brand tax there. It's not a bad price, but it's also not discounted for the season-long underperformance. Jake Mangum, 38-28, is appropriately priced. He's back up to 296, 331, 368. He's fighting the dip off a little bit, but still not really a productive player. 95 WRC plus. What has he done counting stats-wise here? There's 23 stolen bases. Sure, that's a nice little bonus. But even though he's getting on and hitting for average, he's really not even scoring runs. Certainly not driving anybody in. There's very little production here. Low strikeout, low walk. Plays okay defense, but you don't get points for that. Richie Palacios at 35, at 23 across sites. Mix and match quality guy. Going back to last year, 316 plate appearances, 5 home runs, 19 stolen bases, is essentially Jake Mangum. Tristan Gray has been productive over 41 plate appearances, 2 home runs, a 211 ISO, excellent premium contact numbers. Has been an interesting lefty bat to throw into Rays stacks for very, very cheap prices at multiple positions across the middle infield. I don't dislike that. Last year in a cup of coffee, he was terrible, but he's turned these 41 plate appearances into at least a little bit of power production. Excellent 353 xWOBA under the surface. In 2024, across AAA for Oakland, but mostly for Miami, 469 plate appearances. He hit 19 home runs, 251, 322, 467 slash line, but had a 215 ISO. Consistently above a 200 ISO over the last 3-4 years in the minors. He's up there age-wise. This is not a prospect. He's 29, so another guy that's like a quad A player for this organization. But a guy with some talent through those levels. This year in AAA, 282 plate appearances, 9 home runs, 273, 33, 472, a 202 ISO. So reasonable expectation of a little bit of mid-board type power and consistently being able to drive the ball with a 200 plus ISO. I don't think he stays in Giancarlo Stanton batted ball territory. But there's some talent there, and he's very, very cheap down lineup. And then Hunter Fiducia, not much of a bat. On the White Sox side, Mike Tauchman gets on base a lot. So does Kyle Teal up top. Both of those guys against Adrian Hauser could easily find success. Double-digit walk rates for both those dudes, and Hauser can walk guys while not really exploiting their also somewhat high strikeout rates in the lower 20s. You get a lot of strikeout through the middle of this lineup, and then outside of Edgar Quero and Andrew Benintendi, and then it spikes again down toward the bottom with Curtis Mead and Brooks Baldwin, but offset low by Chase Meadroth. If you're looking at just the guys who aren't extreme low, you've got a 24.1% strikeout rate. But again, Hauser not exactly a great strikeout pitcher. Lenyn Sosa's been productive all year, 37, 27, 20 home runs for Lenyn now. 100 WRC plus on the nose, speaks to the average nature of the player. He was just much more interesting and fun when he was a secret, and you could just kind of grab him in spots and throw him into a lineup as a one-off or whatever. He's been much more productive, much more of a name brand, hitting third in this lineup now. But that said, still very cheap. Spot filler at second base at worst against the super gettable Adrian Hauser. Colson Montgomery at 45, at 35, a little bit more expensive version of the kind of the same thing where we're just home run hunting. I prefer this lineup, I think, as like one-off options or secondary small stack type options. Montgomery would be a priority. Lenyn Sosa would be a priority. Major premium contact out of Monty, and those 18 homers have come in only 212 chances. A lot of development needs to go on around the edges in terms of that slash line, but the power is very, very real from the left side. Ghetto at 31, at 25, also getting on base at a very good clip, 349 on base, productive bat with a 108 WRC plus. Benny at 35, at 27 is at least appropriately priced. He has hit 18 home runs. He is showing a little bit of pop this year, but continue to not really be a believer. 336 xWOB is pretty good. 187 ISO doesn't really match the home run pace. That's where we fall off a little bit as far as what the extra base hit actual production looks like. He's just found a few barrels along the way, but that defies what he's done in years past. The hard hit rate kind of matches what he's done in years past. So just a little bit of stretch of power output out of Benintendi. Mix and match quality outfielder. Curtis Mead's got some talent. 3 home runs, 5 stolen bases, and 86 WRC plus is obviously not appealing. Hasn't made great contact yet. Maybe it's just another minor league talent that we're dealing with. Baldwin, Meadroth down the bottom of the lineup. Meadroth hits for average, gets on base, 265, 343, but doesn't do a ton else out there. Correlated scoring, low strikeout, high walk type option, though. Decent as a wraparound option from down there to bring back ahead of here. But what you're getting out of these two guys is also that same on base. So unless we're looking like, 3 straight walks and then Lenyn Sosa grand slam, I can get into that idea. Rays bats, Hauser, White Sox bats, wouldn't play Joe Andres Gomez. Rangers lineup is in. Brewers lineup is not. So again, Chad Patrick, I think more than playable here. More than playable. I just hear George Carlin in my head when I say that. Talking about the phrase more than happy. Saying how sounds more like a death sentence. You hear about Jim? He was more than happy. But what does that really mean? More than playable. He's extra playable. You should put him in every lineup. He's just playable. 7,000 is a great price, though. 88 on FanDuel, I think, reflects how great the DraftKings price is. Still playable on the blue side, but a little bit more challenging. 23.9% strikeouts, a 10.2% swinging strike rate this year. Stuff plus solidly 5 points above league average. Pretty good 105 innings in 20 starts. Gives up a little premium contact, but hasn't been burnt by it for home run output. We're hovering just below our emergency threshold in exit velo. We're above it by several points in hard hit on an extreme fly ball trajectory. 8.3% barrels is, managing the home run output, but this could easily be a little bit higher. 4.14 xFIP as well is, 3/4 of a run higher than that ERA. There are obvious warts on the pitcher overall, but again, 24%, essentially 1 in 4 strikeouts against the lineup that has some strikeout through the middle. This 20% average offset by a couple low balls in there. If we just look at those guys, that's a 23.2% strikeout rate over those 6 guys. So there are some Ks available here for Chad Patrick. There's also some danger, though. Wyatt Langford is good and has been good. Jock Peterson's got immense power from the left side against gettable righties like Chad Patrick, could give up a lot of contact. Wouldn't rule out the Jock home run for a cheap price by any means. But the rest of this lineup is either guys who have underperformed basically all season or guys who are just not necessarily all that good. So I really like this as an SP2 option. And I would play this as an SP1 or as the SP, the starter. On the other side, 75, 88, I just don't really want to tangle with the Brewers all that much. This is the better of these two teams. Leiter's also walking 11.4%, which is problematic. We're above the threshold there. We're above the threshold there. We're above the threshold there. And only at a 2.57% home run rate that is entirely not real. 17-degree average launch comes with those numbers. So this home run number is going to spike at some point. Might not be today. But when it does, that's where Jack Leiter gets into a lot of trouble because of these walks. There's just extra guys on base. He's danced through it mostly. 3.74 ERA, quite good, but a 4.62 xFIP reveals the underlying, poorness of what's gone on here. 11% swinging strike rate, tremendous. 25.8% CSW, not so good. Wouldn't shock me if he had another effective day. 75.88 is reasonably priced, but give me Chad Patrick on the other side of this matchup. Last time out, as mentioned at the beginning of the show, Leiter has worked deeper into games more consistently, but he's also run into more trouble. Last time out, 6 innings of 2-run ball, struck out 8, but walked 3 against the Diamondbacks. Game before that against the Athletics, 2 earned runs on 5 hits over 6, struck out 7 and walked 2. 7 innings against the Guardians, 2-hitter, no runs, struck out 10 and walked 0, probably his best start of the year. So he's been on a good stretch the last 3. We don't want to give him too much credit for that. But if you need a little justification in being able to use him against the Brewers, which again, I don't really want to do, that would be it. Or at least part of the conversation. It's a young pitcher still finding his way. Those numbers are illustrative of the talent. These numbers are illustrative of the need for ongoing development. Would play Brewers against Bryce Turank from the top, 47-33. Excellent season, 291, 359, 444, a 125 WRC plus, can get on, can steal you a base, has hit for a little bit of situational power this year as well. Look at the spike in barrels and hard hits for Bryce Turank year over year from the last 2 years. It's almost quadrupled that barrel rate, put nearly 20 points of hard hit rate together. It's been excellent this year. Big part of the Brewers' success. Jackson Chourio at 48 at 35, 19 homers, 18 stolen bases, a 202 ISO. Like I said yesterday, I'm really looking forward to next year for Chourio. I think we see the big step forward. But this has been a good season for such a young player. It's been a very, very good year. Christian Yelich has been tremendous. 27 home runs, 15 steals. Strikeouts still up a little bit. 194 ISO, a 126 WRC plus, a 341 xWOBA. It's just Christian Yelich being Christian Yelich. William Contreras at 46 at 31. Very affordable catcher. 614 rock-solid plate appearances. 17 home runs. A 146 ISO doesn't really match the hard hit rate, but the barrels have been down, so that explains some of that away. 18.2% strikeouts against just 12.7% walks. He's tremendous as far as getting on base or putting bat on ball very, very frequently. And he cashes those tickets all the time. 116 WRC plus on the year. Look at all the run creation in this Brewers lineup. We ask why these Brewers are good when they don't hit all that many home runs, when they don't, do a lot of different things that modern success is built around. They just get out there and create runs via getting on base and shaking things up, making it happen. A little old school there. Rhys Hoskins at 36, 27, adds a little thunder to the lineup, though. He's got a dozen home runs and 318 plate appearances, 186 ISO, and it comes on tremendous premium contact, as always. Also comes with a lot of Ks, but does come with a lot of walks. 3 true outcomes hitter. Isaac Collins, Caleb Durbin have both been productive. 128 and 102 WRC plus marks show the difference. 275, 373, 433 slash line for Isaac Collins. Durbin a little bit lighter than that, but 10 home runs, 13 stolen bases out of him. And then Joey Ortiz just dragging everything down. 459 awful plate appearances at the bottom of the lineup. He's at least stolen 13 bases. Can get involved through a little bit of correlated scoring, but that's just a bad player spot filler. Josh Smith at the top of the Rangers for 34 for 3,000. Still has 5 position eligibility on FanDuel. It just makes him so playable, so flexible. Low strikeout, high walk, productive enough for me. 101 WRC plus. If you're going to the Rangers, you can always consider him. And he's at worst an effective one-off when you can literally put him at any offensive position. It's just a guy to have in mind when you're building lineups. I'd rather have him for like 28, 27 in that role. But 3 is manageable, especially with everything being a little off price. Wyatt Langford at 45, 36 has 21 home runs, 18 steals, a 190 ISO, 117 WRC plus. Been tremendously productive this season. Surged nicely in the second half. Jock maybe coming back to form a little bit. He's up to 8 home runs and 250 plate appearances total. The premium contact's starting to look a little bit more reminiscent of Jock. The slash line's just not going to get there. We don't have enough time left. But as long as we're just home run hunting from the left side, that is a elite left-handed power bat to throw at a pitcher like Chad Patrick. One-offs of Jock, perfectly fine at 25, at 28, as long as Chad Patrick's not on the mound in your lineup. And a critical part of stacks, in my opinion, if you're going to Texas. Jake Berger's only 32, 29. He's hit 14 home runs and only 331 plate appearances. A 188 ISO. That's off pace from what we would expect, but it's also not atrocious. Comes on a 13.5% barrel, 48.9% hard hits that are both technically better than he was last year. Josh Young at 33 at 3,000. Mix and match quality at worst. 255, 297, 397 isn't impressing anybody. 93 WRC plus, same deal. There's really nothing about these 441 plate appearances that have been at all special. But the premium contact's not far off the mark from the past. Strikeouts and walks are right about where they were. Last year was a pretty weak 188 plate appearances, but at least had the 102 WRC plus. Year before, 23 home runs and 515 plate appearances, a 201 ISO, a 110 WRC plus. Was very productive that season. Came up with pedigree that was supposed to be good. Lost most of last year and just been a little bit lost himself this year. But a good player. Alejandro Osuna is cheap at 23 across the board. Pretty weak 121 plate appearances so far. But there's talent there. Cody Freeman, same thing in 63 plate appearances. Seen a little bit of the power. 2 home runs on the board, but pretty limited so far. But should have a little bit more to give than that. Jonah Heim is a cheap catcher bat. He's got 10 home runs, but he's been pretty off all season, over 392 plate appearances. At best, a mixer if you're building a bunch of Ranger stacks. And then Michael Hellman at 35 on DraftKings feels a little bit high, 26 on FanDuel. He's been okay over 55 plate appearances. He's got 4 home runs and 3 stolen bases and a 327 ISO, which is ludicrous. The rest of that production is just all right. And just not reflective of what the actual player is. In the minors, he peaked with 20 home runs back in 2022. And that came as a 26-year-old back in 2022. He's 29 now. So we're talking about a guy who is a quad A player. Most of his career has already been spent in the minor leagues. Little bit of opportunity here and there in the show last year and this year. But a minor league player. That season, 2022, with the Twins organization, did hit those 20 home runs. He also stole 40 bases that year. He scored 100 runs. And that's what he's going to tell his grandkids about. Actually, he'll probably tell them about playing for the Rangers in the majors. But that was the best season of his life. So, been a little tax. Not at a high price, and the entire lineup is cheap. But that's just an off price on DraftKings for who Hellman actually is. FanDuel's got it right. I think Chad Patrick on DraftKings, Brewers bats, Chad Patrick on FanDuel, Rangers bats, Jack Leiter on DraftKings, Jack Leiter on FanDuel. 2 different things. Really intrigued by this $7,000 price on Patrick, though, against these Rangers. Might not get there, but he's been good enough all year to justify some shares. Oof, 509. Taking our time. Twins and the Angels. Neither of these lineups are in. So this is where we hit our West Coast block. Those first 5 games are the East Coast games. That one that we just did starts at 8:05. And then we've got a gap. This is why a lot of those lineups weren't in yesterday when we were trying to do the show. 9:38 is the next start, and these last 6 games are all after 9:40. So big West Coast slate. Critical game here. Need to get this one right. 468 implied total for the Twins, 442 implied total for the Angels. As mentioned, you will note how much power is showing for these Angels through those top spots, and it's entirely justified. 24 home run average for those players. Average ISO of 226. Going up against a pitcher who's allowed a 10.2% barrel rate, 39% hard hits, 89.6 miles an hour of exit velo on a 15.8 degree average launch, 3.55% home runs, maybe a little lucky to be there. But as mentioned, a lot of that power has come from lefties, not righties. And outside of the switch hitter, Joe Moncada, those guys are all right-handed. Now, those guys are talented home run hitters that I don't think are going to be overwhelmed by the presence of Zebby Matthews on the mound. But he's a good strikeout pitcher. 12.7% swinging strikes, 26.6% strikeouts for the season. And this team strikes out at a 27.4% clip, and that's aided by Luis Renifo at 18.9. The rest of these guys, we take him out, 28.4. So that's a aggressive strikeout team. Vegas is kind of on their side with that 4.42 implied total, though. Zebby's pitched to a 4.73 ERA, so that kind of reflects that as well. But a 3.58 xFIP shows his actual quality. Puts too many guys on base with the 1.42 whip, but it's not really because of walks. 7.1% walk rate against those strikeouts is entirely manageable. .350 batting average on balls in play against. That's where that whip is coming from. Had a major home run issue in his cup of coffee last year. 9 starts, a 6+% home run rate. That was a 2 and change home runs per 9. And kind of had that in, how big is that sample? It's a light sample. It's mostly when he's gone up a level in some spots. Although a 1.2 home run per 9 over all of 2023 in the minors. So the contact, the power against is, at least somewhat real. We've leaned into this Angels team a lot this year. I don't know that we bail out now. We've succeeded here. We've failed there. A lot of roller coaster action going on with this squad, but I lean a little bit more toward the power, I think, than the pitcher, especially if I'm reading it right, that most of the industry seems to be leaning the other way and getting to a little bit of Zebby. That said, Zebby is extremely cheap at 77 on DraftKings. So I would say he's kind of a priority over there, but probably going to get very popular. So if you get overweight to that Zebby as your SP2 or as a very cheap SP1 even, I would definitely hedge in other lineups with some Angels. FanDuel, it's less of a problem at 9,000. He's playable there, but less of a priority because that's not a super discount. And it comes with a lot of danger. Hendricks going the other way, we can just kind of breeze past. 4.81 ERA, 5.03 xFIP, 14% strikeouts. Gives up plenty of premium contact, just enough power, and home runs, just under a 4% home run rate. He's just a target for Twins bats. Fire away with Twins up at the top. That said, probably, again, no Byron Buxton. He's dealing with, I think, a knee. As far as I know, not on the IL, though, so maybe we get him back. But probably going to get this version of the lineup. They definitely have power, premium contact upside. Some of those lefties are interesting bats. Cody Clemens has had a nice year for contact and power. Matt Wallner's an excellent home run hitter. He's hit 21 on the season. He's got a 266 ISO, and you're letting him go up against the guy who just allows contact. So love the upside for Wallner. Austin Martin in the leadoff role at 33.24, differently priced across sites. Holding up very well over 109 plate appearances. 290, 389, 387. That's a solid table setter, if nothing else. Luke Keishel's been very good. He's the most expensive player on this team now. 4,800 on DraftKings, 32 on FanDuel, a little bit more manageable. An excellent 159 plate appearances. He's stolen 12 bases, still getting on at above a 400 clip is outrageous. 152 WRC plus. Very, very productive. Low strikeout, high walk. Doesn't hit the ball particularly hard, but has found a few home runs along the way. Trevor Larnach does hit the ball hard. Lost a few barrels along the way this season, but still 16 home runs. A decent enough lefty bat in the middle of the lineup that you can probably expect more power from. If we had another 500 plate appearances to give him, I would like his power to emerge more in those next 500 plate appearances than maybe it did through the season, given what the contact over time has looked like. Royce Lewis at 34.29, underperforming the talent all year long, 92 WRC plus across 335 plate appearances. He's better than that. He's priced down. He's low strikeout, medium walk. Makes good contact up at the plate. So I don't dislike the Royce Lewis option. We just saw it go off like crazy yesterday. Cody Clemens at 31, 28, 16 home runs in just 326 plate appearances, carrying a 219 ISO, major source of premium contact at 11.3% barrel, 48.9% hard hit. That's an excellent bet that people just seem reluctant to play, even at cheap prices. I love the upside for him on FanDuel. Would play him at first base on DraftKings at that $3,100 price. You're not blocking anybody else from this team, and he's been good enough all season long, and he's against a target of a pitcher to justify the first base positioning on DraftKings. Brooks Lee at 28-26 has 14 home runs. Decent enough total there, but just, fringe type player as far as wanting to get to him. He's very cheap. Don't love him occupying short, though. There are better shortstops on the board. Johnny Pedetta and our guy James Outman at the bottom of the lineup. Pedetta is entirely skippable, makes a match type. But James Outman's somebody to watch down there. He got our home run yesterday. It's his third of the season. It's been a bad 108 plate appearances. It was a bad lost season for him last year as well. But 2 years ago, as we've looked at, very, very good for the Dodgers. Making good contact in the 11.1% barrel, but it's come with too many strikeouts against Kyle Hendricks. That's not a problem. I like him for another home run today. Love the upside. And then we get to the Angels. Again, Zebby's finding strikeouts against righties. He's missing bats. Keeping ISO extremely low against righties. Might be a little illusion in the home run model today. I'm not sure. But I'm willing to go to the Angels to find out, and would play that side if they're under owned compared to where he comes down on either site. I think they are the more interesting option. Mike Trout, 4,000, 3,200 is back to 4,000, but just barely. 14% barrels, 20 home runs on the season, a 189 ISO. They're not Mike Trout numbers, but he's still very good. Still draws a 16.6% walk rate, if nothing else, that gets him on base at a ridiculous 365 clip, which is why he's leading off now. Set the table for these other guys. He's got a 360 xWOB under the surface. Still creating runs 16% better than average. There's still a lot to like at these cheap prices. He's priced like he's just another schmo outfielder, and he's not. He's just better than that. 3,500, 2,700 for Joan Moncada is a great price. The one guy who will get to hit left-handed here against Zebby. 11 home runs. What's his output lefty look like? All 11 of his home runs have come from the left side against right-handed pitching. So that's fantastic for him. That could be a critical spot today. If you're going to Angels, you want to include Joan Moncada in your consideration, which is a key thing on FanDuel, because typically if you're building on FanDuel, you want to get those four guys, and that's all you get. That's where their premium bats lie. But considering that you get the lefty in Moncada and such a cheap price there, also makes things work. So you don't necessarily just want to straight line it through those outfielders. Moncada kind of high priority today. On DraftKings, it's just kind of a natural fit because you can take all five. Neto at 42 at 34, cheap on DraftKings today. 34 on FanDuel is correct. 25 homers, 25 steals, a 216 ISO, 115 WRC plus. What's not to like? Taylor Ward and Joe Adell are also very cheap for guys with 30 plus home runs. 30 for Ward, 35 for Adell, 239 ISO, 264 ISO. We'll see if Adell's in the lineup. We talked about it yesterday. Somebody asked. He came out of the game on Sunday with what they called nausea, and then yesterday he was in the original lineup and then scratched from the lineup with what they're now calling vertigo. Those are two different things. If it's vertigo, that could be an ongoing problem that keeps him out of the lineup for a couple of days. If it was just nausea, then whatever, he's probably back in the lineup and fine. If you get him, take him. If he's not there, don't play him. Loser and Efo, 31-25, mix and match caliber. The next three guys, Ozzy Peraza and Bryce Docio are both worse than mix and match caliber. And then if it's Travis d'Arnaud hiding here, that's an interesting catcher with a little bit of pop in the bat. Hasn't been particularly good this year. 6 home runs in 227 plate appearances is reflective of what he does at the plate, though, which is drive the ball. Consistently high barrel rates for a backup, solid hard hit rates, and good output as far as home run hitting. So that's an interesting catcher to shake things up on DK as well. But your priorities are those five guys up at the top. Twins bats, Angels bats, Zebby. But it's probably actually Twins bats, Zebby on DraftKings, Angels bats, Zebby on FanDuel. Don't play Kyle Hendricks. Neither of these lineups are in. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're out there. Michael Knack nominating Bryce Turang for the NL MVP. I think he's going to fall a little bit short, but he's been very, very good. Brewers got held down by Jacob Latz yesterday. Yeah, Yeah, Lat's had a surprising start. Tiz is cooking dinner while he listens. Love it. Cooking dinner before he stress builds right before lock. Yeah, that's my style. I was literally in this chair for like, I don't know, 40 out of 48 hours, Saturday and Sunday, going up to the 1 o'clock lock. And I left like all my lineup building for like afternoon, like after the time, 12 p.m., that last hour before lock. Like all morning long, I'm sitting there thinking about it. Like, well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, updating, writing articles and stuff for the site. At some point, I got to build my lineups. Again, planning, time management, not exactly my skill set. Zach Littell, 73-77. 17% strikeouts against a very low 4.1% walk rate. Those are positive attributes. Well, it's a positive ratio, a solid ratio, but that strikeout rate obviously needs to be much, much higher to make him at all interesting. 3.81 ERA, a 4.34 xFIP, 10% barrels is too high, 41% hard hit. Same thing, 90 miles an hour of exit velo, 90.4. Justifies that 5% home run rate. Definitely targetable for some Padres bats here on the other side. Don't think we need Littell at those prices against this team. Michael King at 97-91 projects really well. That puts him right in the plateau. If you weren't here earlier, we've got a peak right there, and then just one big plateau just short of the peak where you've got a lot of friendly prices and a lot of playability and some question marks. Michael King is a member of that group, but I don't think he's there to go climb up to the summit with everybody else. I think he's going that high and not that much higher. He's got a little bit more just because he is a good strikeout pitcher and there's some Ks available for him in that Reds lineup. So if he cracked 30, it's not shocking. If he goes a little into the 17, 18 range and pays off an okay performance, I think that's totally reasonable. But I don't think you're getting an extended start here, given the month-long absence and the lack of rehab. Probably looking at 5, even if it's going well. This is a Reds team that comes in with a 25% strikeout rate, though, and he's a 27.5% strikeout pitcher this year, 10.9% swinging, and has had that attribute in years past. Last year, 27.7 across a full season. Year before, 29.5 in 9 starts, 104 and change innings, 33% in relief work back in 51 innings with the Yankees a couple years ago. So Michael King, very, very good. I just question for the money, are we getting enough as far as pitch count, as far as innings? And the Reds, as much as they do strike out, not a complete pushover. There are some good bats in that lineup. There are some guys who can get on base, scratch out some hits, and there's a little bit of lurking power. But King, if it was a full start, would be a top priority pitcher here, just to put it in perspective. Reds bats against, don't love it. 3-2-1 implied total. For while Michael King's in there, he's probably going to blaze a trail through this team. But TJ Friedel's low strikeout, high walk, that could give Michael King fits. He does walk hitters, 8.1% walk rate. Friedel's getting on at a 366 clip. A few spots later in the lineup, you've got Gavin Lux, who shares that attribute, 348 on base. He strikes out a little bit more, but also walks, 10.9% walk rate. In between, you've got 3 guys. Only Ellie draws a reasonable walk rate at 9.1%, and all 3 of those guys strike out. But that's where some of our power lies. Noelvi Marte's got 12 home runs in 294 chances with a 208 ISO. Ellie has 19. A shocking just 177 ISO for Ellie. It's weird to see him there given how hard he hits the ball and how fast he is. You would just think that results in more extra base hits. But 108 WRC plus, 331 XWOB, but there's nothing wrong with what Ellie's done this season. It's tremendous as far as the counting stats go. But just that sub 20 home runs so far, I think we were all expecting probably 25 to 30. We're definitely expecting above a 200 ISO, but it's not because he's lacked for premium contact. Austin Hayes has made good contact throughout the season. He's got 15 home runs and 377 chances. He's an up and down hitter, but a 204 ISO. Respectable enough. Very, very cheap. Lux, I already mentioned, just another source of on base. Then we get into Sal Stewart, 22-23. He's got a home run on the board in 16 plate appearances, but going up against King, probably a little overmatched. Tyler Stevenson, definite source of power at the catcher position for only 3,400. That's not a bad option, but he strikes out a ton. He also walks a lot. So he's a 3 true outcomes kind of a hitter. But I lean Michael King in that matchup. He's got 9 home runs and 295 chances, though. If you're going Reds, he would be a reasonable priority where you at least where you have to play the position. Ke'Bryan Hayes, Matt McClain down lineup. Hayes always puts good bat on ball, never sees results for it. 5 home runs, 12 steals, a 297 on base, a .077 ISO. And Matty McLean's been basically right there with him. 128 ISO this year and 83 WRC plus. He's at least found some counting stats along the way, but it's been an ugly year. He's just very cheap down lineup at second base. I'd rather have him at second than I think Ke'Bryan at third, unless we're talking about defense. Michael saying Terry does love Zebby. I do. I mean, I think there's a good argument to be had in both directions in that spot. Really, really is. Wouldn't surprise me at all if he went out 8 strikeout type day, kept them down with all those righties. Wouldn't surprise me at all if the Angels came out, hung a few runs on him pretty early, chased him, and went off in a big way for power. Padres bats definitely the more interesting of these two teams going up against Littell. A lot of power showing again. A 5+% home run rate is super targetable with Fernando Tatis up at the top of the lineup. He's up to 20 home runs, just a 169 ISO this year, but you can see the premium contact is still very much intact. He's lost some barrel, but still a 50+% hard hit. He is still an elite star caliber player. Doesn't really strike out, draws a ton of walks. Excellent table setter, if nothing else. Luis Arias, weird spot in the lineup. 283, 318, 386. What can you do? That's where he hits. 7 home runs, 10 steals. Pretty mediocre. Loosely playable, more so on FanDuel, where you can get him at second base still for 27. 42 on DraftKings at first base. It's just a weird fit. 51-35 for Manny Machado is very interesting. Excellent premium contact numbers, 23 home runs, 12 stolen bases. Fantastic across the 4 counting stat categories. 125 WRC plus. The ISO dipped a little bit through the season. He was above 200 for a long stretch there, but he's made excellent contact all year long. He's been premium Manny Machado. Ryan O'Hearn has had a really nice year, 16 home runs, a 357 xWOB under the surface, a 128 WRC plus up floating on the surface, 19.5% strikeout and 11.3% walk. It's been absolutely tremendous. Ramon Laureano has been even better. 23 home runs, a 297, 359, 544 slash line, a 246 ISO. We're at 432 plate appearances now. I thought this was going to cool at some point, and it just hasn't. It's the best he's been in years. Jackson Merrill, a dip from his super productive rookie year last year, but still a 106 WRC plus, a more encouraging 357 xWOB under the surface, 10 home runs, 11.4% barrels. There's a lot to like with Jackson Chourio, with Jackson Merrill rather, and Jackson Chourio, with what's going on right now, even with the dip in maybe output. Jake Cronenworth always playable, gets on base like crazy, 370 on base, a 13% walk, excellent correlated scoring option. Jose Iglesias, totally skippable. Freddie Fermin, totally playable at a very cheap catcher price because he hits for average, puts bat on ball frequently, and finds a little bit of success. Padres bats, but only because I think Michael King's going to be limited to 5. Otherwise, it would probably be King on top. King probably second. Reds bats, Littell, third and fourth, but very much less playable. Again, West Coast stretch here, no lineups in. Matthew Liberatore, 66, 74, looking like a target to me. He's been usable in some spots through the year. It's not like he's having a bad year. 4.15 ERA, 4.26 xFIP, entirely manageable. It's just not a great DFS pitcher. It's one of those just, a little better in real life, I think, than for DFS. 18.6% strikeout against 6% walk. You're happy if this guy's your 5th starter. If he's like your ace or your number 2, it's not quite as good. But he's been okay. I just don't want to go here against a very good hard-hitting Mariners lineup for really any reason. He's cheap at 66, maybe as a very low-end SP2 dart that you don't need to go to because there are so many cheap options. That's how he would be, at least in the conversation. On FanDuel, I really don't think he is. 7,400. He's very, very cheap. 5 1/3 of quality against the Athletics last time out. If you can replicate that, 7 strikeouts, 4 hits, no runs, 1 walk. That's an excellent start. That's peak Liberatore. 3 earned runs in 5 innings against Cincinnati, 4 earned runs in 4 1/3 against Tampa Bay, 3 earned runs in 5 against Miami, 3 earned runs in 4 against Colorado. None of those are meltdowns, but none of those are paying the bills fantasy-wise. Peaked at 5 strikeouts across that stretch. That 7 strikeout game he had last time out was his highest strikeout total since a game where I'm almost positive we used him and succeeded, where he struck out 8 against the Pirates back on May 6th. I think I was banging the drum for him that day. 1 earned run, 3 hits. A couple usable starts, though. 6-7 innings here and there. Very much on the fringes of playability and really only on DK. George Kirby, top of the board. 10,000 on both sites. Our top projected pitcher. He is that guy who was at the peak, offset from that giant plateau of pitchers. That said, could easily dip back down into that territory. 4.47 ERA, but the 3.54 xFIP shows the quality. It shows who George Kirby really is. 23.6% strikeouts against 5.9% walks is stellar and just is in line with what he does. Last year, 23%, 3%. Year before, 22.7 and 2.5%. Was better in those years with a 3.53 ERA, 3.58 xFIP. But again, that's right in line with the xFIP this year. That is who George Kirby is. Against the super gettable Cardinals team with a 3.16 implied total, there's really nothing not to like about Kirby. I think you roster him at any kind of public ownership and just get different in the many, many other sources of differentiation on this slate. Top of the cards with Lars Nootbaar, 38, 28 across sites, 13 home runs, a 139 ISO, 100 WRC plus. One of their best bats, especially when it comes to the premium contact that he still does make this year. His numbers for premium contact this year are right in line with last year. Just fell off as far as expectation and doesn't really pay off the contact numbers. He's very cheap, if nothing else, in the outfield, but no real priority there. No real reason to go to him against an excellent pitcher. Ivan Herrera at 4,000, 3,000. He's fine to fill a spot at catcher, but he's not much more than that right now. Not against Kirby anyway. 14 home runs and 374 plate appearances. Good output. He's made excellent contact. It's been fairly low strikeout, upper medium walk rate. 166 ISO, 131 WRC plus. These two numbers are tremendous. But on his own, against Kirby, I don't love it. Burleson's been one of their better bats. 17 home runs, a 171 ISO. Again, one of their better bats has a 171 ISO and sub 20 home runs in nearly 500 plate appearances. Wilson Contreras, arguably their best power bat with 20 homers, a 195 ISO. Nolan Gorman actually is their best power bat, but he's at 14 home runs and 354 plate appearances, a 180 ISO. He's made good contact, but not great contact like he used to in the 16% barrel range. Strikeouts have come down a little bit, though, year over year. They're more reminiscent or exact match of 2 years ago while walking slightly more. Gorman's very playable. I prefer him at 27 on FanDuel at second base if I'm going there. But again, George Kirby on the mound. There's no reason to need to go grab Cardinals. Even as a contrarian option, it's so low end. Mason Wynn, just another shortstop, if that. Jimmy Crooks, mix and match. Tommy Segisi, Victor Scott. Scott steals bases. Segisi doesn't really do anything. Mariners bats, I think, are the talking point here as far as the two offenses go. Arosarena getting on at a 343 clip with a 9.1% walk. He's had a tremendous season with 26 homers, 27 stolen bases, a 204 ISO, 127 WRC plus. Absolutely fantastic option to start things off and fairly priced at 48.33, honestly. Cal Raleigh at 62.44, 53 home runs, 14 stolen bases on the season. Cal, let's see, where are we at? Let's call it the 20th. Since the 20th of August, the last 3 weeks or so, 185, 293, 462, but continuing to roll for power. 6 home runs, a 277 ISO over that stretch, a 111 WRC plus. Just absolutely rock solid when it comes to hitting for power, hitting long balls, and that will definitely keep the lights on as far as DFS goes. 155 WRC plus this season. Julio up to 30 home runs, 25 stolen bases, a 211 ISO. Since the All-Star break, which was July 13th to the 18th, so since July 18th, just for the record, Julio, 301, 332, 602 slash line, a 161 WRC plus, 16 of those home runs, and a 301 ISO. Dude is just an outrageous second half player. Takes him a little while to get going, and then he just rockets to the moon and puts up star caliber numbers season over season. 53 feels a little light, honestly, on DraftKings. 37 on FanDuel. You could easily have charged 4,000. Eugenio at 43 at 35 against this pitcher from the right side with all his power. 45 home runs for him on the season, a 310 ISO, 132 WRC plus. He's a monster. He's a masher power bat at 4,300 at third base. I don't really understand that price. 35 on FanDuel, they got it more correct. Jorge Polanco's cheap at 39, 3,000. He's got 24 home runs at 222 ISO on the season. He'll be getting his plate appearances from the right side against the lefty. Josh Naylor, lefty, 4,400, 3,400. We're just looking at him to succeed via, some of his excellent on base and hit tool skills. 282, 345, 449. Maybe the power doesn't show up, but he's still a strong option. If people skip over him because of the lefty, I'll take my shot. It's a low strikeout, high contact pitcher, if nothing else. Naylor's also stolen 25 bases this year. 120 WRC plus. Mitch Garver at 27-26 from the right side. There's definitely power there. 8.3% barrel, 46.5% hard hits on the season. It's resulted in just 8 home runs and a 134 ISO. But a platoon advantage here for him. JP Crawford at 34-27, productive via the on base, decent wraparound option for a very cheap price at shortstop. Just lost his gig up at the top of the lineup. And then Victor Robles at 33-24, another super productive player. So far this year, just 261, 288, 319, 4 stolen bases on the season. Missed most of the year. That's in 73 plate appearances. Really came on strong in the second half of last year after joining this Mariners team. Interesting bat hiding down lineup. Your priorities are obviously up here, but this is a 9-man playable, at least the projected version of this Mariners lineup in this spot. Solid total. Love the home run upside. Definitely interesting. George Kirby, Mariners bats. Matthew Liberatore, Cardinals bats. Go Pack Go, says Michael Knack. Speaking of football, how about that trade by the Eagles? Solid pickup. Tank for a 5 and a was it a 5 and a 6 or a 6 and a 7? I think it was a 5 and a 6. Travis Etienne drafters celebrating. I don't know why I'm so high on the Jags this year, but we'll see. 3.50 implied total for the Diamondbacks against Robbie Ray, a total roller coaster of the pitcher. Comes in with a 3.31 ERA, a 4.22 xFIP, 24.6% strikeouts, but a 9.4% walk, 12.7% swinging strike rate, but a 91 mile an hour that average exit velo, 44.3% hard hit, 8.8% barrel rate. Comes on a 17.2 degree average launch that in the past has led to a lot of home runs. This year he's managed home runs a little bit, but most of that is happenstance. There's not that much that he can do about it once the ball leaves his hand. He's always had the ability to be good. Mike? What do you mean, Mike? Michael? Mike, like microphone? Something wrong? Or was that going to be Micah Parsons? Given your previous comment, I'm thinking maybe it was going to be Micah Parsons and you just hit the thing too early. But if something's wrong with the microphone, let me know. I'm going to keep on talking. So we know that Ray is flawed, right? When we go to Robbie Ray, we know that we're getting a bumpy pitcher. We know that. Thanks, Clintwood. Clintwood here is fine. We know that we're getting a shaky option. I feel like that's baked into the prices at 95, at 94. He's a little offset from George Kirby at the top of the board, but he is right in that group. And he's just another member. Granted, he's the second highest projected technically, but to me, he's just another member of this tier of same type options. And he's got one of the tougher matchups in that group against Arizona. Arizona's tough. Houston's tough. Chicago's tough. The rest of those teams are easier, except maybe Detroit for Will Warren, but he's offset by price. So Ray, playable at a high price, definitely in the mix for shares at SP1, but maybe challenged as well, and just a member of that club. So if you want to undercut public ownership on Robbie Ray, if he gets it all popular on your site, no problem with it. Diamondbacks are good enough to beat him easily here. Those 3 stars at the top of the lineup get on base like crazy. That could burn Robbie Ray right there, and then they've got quality going down the lineup. On the other side, Zach Gallen's 84. He's 87. He projects almost exactly the same against the far more gettable of these two teams. Yeah, the Giants come in at a 408 implied total. There's plenty of strikeout here for Zach Gallen. Giants have been middle of the board throughout the season. And Gallen has been really reclaiming his talent over this last little run. Back to, I initially did it to July 21st, and I'll leave it there. That day was a 6-run day. So including that start and the following one where he gave up 4 over 6 to Pittsburgh. Over that stretch of his last 9 starts, he's still at a 3.40 ERA, a 3.78 xFIP. Just 20.3% strikeouts, but it comes against just 5.5% walks. And then the sample that I was really trying for, his last 7 starts, 2.20 ERA, but still a 3.87 xFIP. Strikeouts, I believe, come back a little bit more. Strikeouts still about the same, 19.9, but it's against the 6% walk. So we've been finding the success again. 4.77 ERA, but a 4.08 xFIP, I think, reflects a little of that. 21.6% strikeouts. You would like to have seen the strikeout come back along with some of that success. And again, the xFIP that he's put up over the last couple of weeks, a little bit lower than this 4.08, but still upper threes. So we're not suddenly saying he is, top end ace of the league, but we don't need him to be at 84, at 87. Extremely playable. And this is a pitcher who has been very good in the past. 3.65 ERA, 3.62 xFIP, 25% strikeouts last year, 3.47, 3.49, 26% strikeouts the year before, same deal the year before that. There were, along the way in each of those seasons, some bumpy starts, but he was overall excellent. This year, it's been a little bit more bumpy start than excellence, but still a very talented guy out there. No reason to not go to Zach Gallen here. How do you like that for double negative? Ketel Marte, Geraldo Perdomo, Corbin Carroll up at the top of this lineup, all at high prices, although Perdomo's come down a little bit at 48.37. But those are reaches for sure against Robbie Ray. You're looking to grab a probably under-owned squad of talented players against an erratic pitcher and hope for the best if you're doing that. I think it's doable, but probably not your best approach to a slate with a fair number of standout options at the plate. But this is one of the better teams to find in a contrarian spot. So that always does draw the eye at least a little bit. And Marte would be a priority there. 55.38. He's got 25 home runs, a 150 WRC plus, a ridiculous 405 xWOB under the surface. It says he can be even better. Perdomo gets on like crazy at a 379 on base, 129 WRC plus for the season. And then Corbin Carroll is just a star in the outfield, 59-41, their most expensive bat because he's got 30 home runs and 26 stolen bases, a 297 ISO, and he's just ridiculous. Gabriel Moreno at 37 and 27 across sites. Solid catcher bat. Even where you don't need the position on FanDuel, just look at him like he's a first baseman on this team, if this is the lineup they roll out. 44.5% hard hits on the season, sub 20% strikeouts, reasonable walk rate that's been higher in the past, 283, 337, 448. Don't forget, once upon a time, Gabriel Moreno, one of the top prospects in baseball, especially because he plays catcher. Blaze Alexander at 37.29. Put good wood on the ball so far this year at 13.4% barrel, 43.8% hard hit. He's got 7 home runs and a 189 ISO across 200 plus plate appearances. The quality, kind of ebbs and flows here. Could be victimized by Robbie Ray a couple times over, given the 30+% strikeout rate, but capable enough and a righty bat. James McCann has made his career off of hitting lefties. 3 home runs on the season, a 144 ISO over 102 plate appearances. Been somewhat effective, 51.5% hard hits. If he's in the lineup, he's playable. No guarantee he's going to be there. Ilimaro Vargas, mix and match quality, but succeeds a little bit more against lefties, I believe. Jordan Lawler is a talented young player. Great numbers through the minors. 45 pretty terrible plate appearances so far in the show. 40% strikeouts, probably going to be overmatched against Robbie Ray, but part of the mix at second base for a very cheap price. The third base eligibility is nice. You can't have him, Blaze, and Ketel Marte. But you can have 2 of those 3. So depending on what money you've got to spend, you've got options. And then Jorge Barosa at the bottom of the lineup, mix and match quality. On the Giants side, the 4+ implied total, I do think that as much as I was just saying that Zach Gallen has shown signs of recovery over his last few starts, it is still the erratic version of Zach Gallen out on the mound. So I would hedge any Zach Gallen position with some Giants bats, or I would consider them as a reasonable enough option. Elliot Ramos at 41-34 has 17 home runs, a 111 WRC plus. He's dipped all the way down to a 139 ISO though. Last year he hit 22 home runs, had a 200 ISO for the season. So that is a precipitous drop. Still very good, but concerning there as far as the power output goes. It doesn't really come on a tragic dip as far as hard hits, but he's lost a lot of barrel as time has gone on this season. Something's a little bit off lately. Rafi Devers at 51-39 has 31 home runs. He's driven in 100 if you care about RBIs. 227 ISO, 139 WRC plus remains a tremendous option. First base on DraftKings, third and first base on FanDuel. Fairly priced, arguably pretty cheap at 51 on DraftKings considering the talent. Willy Adames at 46 at 37, 27 home runs, a 198 ISO on the season. Really pulled things together and just going to finish the year looking pretty good and pretty much like Willy Adames. Dom Smith, quality contact hitter, but not a great power bat. Mix and match caliber at first base, and you'd rather have Rafi Devers every single time. Matt Chapman at 4,000 at 3,300, entirely reasonable pricing, considering the 21 home runs, the 216 ISO, the consistent output of power that he's always had. Drew Gilbert's got a little talent, 3,000, 2,800 across sites. 3 home runs in 66 plate appearances is what was tripping me up there. 242 ISO. Trying to get all that out in 2 words was a little problematic. Young-Hoo Lee at 36-31, solid line drive hitter, a little bit of capability as far as creating runs, 112 WRC plus on the season. Casey Schmidt, Patty Bailey, worst, mix and match quality guys that can get into a lineup. Schmidt's been the more productive at 101 WRC plus. Bailey's been a little lost for most of the year. He's got 4 home runs in 400 plate appearances, a .092 ISO and a 64 WRC plus. But if we're looking, that's an 8-man 115 WRC plus. This Giants team, as middle of the road as they might be, is not bad for run creation. If we're being fair about it, it is Robbie Ray, Zach Gallen, Giants bats, Diamondbacks bats. If I'm injecting bias into the equation, which you shouldn't do, it is Zach Gallen, Diamondbacks bats, Robbie Ray, Giants bats. But let's stick with that first order. No lineups in for this. Mariners lineup came out. It is exactly what we talked about, except Victor Robles hits 8th and JP Crawford hits 9th, which totally works because that makes Crawford more appealing with his on-base skills as a wraparound guy back up to the top. So bump to, not an actual bump. You don't want to do anything about it, but it just makes him slightly more appealing for the role. Texas lineup, I think, is exactly what we had. I don't see any other surprises. Still lacking a lot of these late lineups. Last 2 games up, though, major target for offense here. Jeffrey Springs at 68 at 76. I don't think you want to go there. He's given up a 4% home run rate on 8% barrels. He's managed premium contact and power, but there's just so many fly balls against. And this Red Sox team is just good at finding quality. They can drive the ball. They can find the home run power. I don't love the Springs option. I think that, sub 20% strikeout. The 11.1% swinging strike is the only appealing thing there. 4.59 xFIP, I think, is enough to keep us away. He's very cheap as a bargain bin dart. If you're considering some of the other guys in the 6s, can you throw it? Sure. But he's not a member of that plateau, right? From there down to right there. He's offset low down here. There's a little bit of a group like right there. That's, well, not really. He's Liberator, right? If you're considering Liberator against Seattle at 66, you can consider Jeffrey Springs against the Red Sox at 68. Better strikeout option by a little, but probably the worst situation in terms of the ballpark, the opposing team. And then Connolly Early making his debut. Does come in on the DraftKings slate at 72. Don't know if he's landed on FanDuel yet. This is the Red Sox number 6 overall prospect. Reasonably highly regarded. Pitched to a 2.60 ERA with a 2.98 xFIP in 18 starts, 21 outings, 103rd innings in the minors this year. Only 6 of those starts, 28 2/3, came in AAA. The rest of that action was at AA. 12 starts down there. In the 6 AAA starts, 2.83 ERA and a 3.06 xFIP was outstanding. 30% strikeouts after the promotion, 32% strikeouts before the promotion. Walked just under 10% basically at every stop through the minors, though. Something to watch there as far as his jump up to the majors here. Against a team that doesn't draw a ton of walks, it's not that dangerous as far as that one attribute for him. But I don't know that I would expect the strikeouts necessarily out of the gate. There are a number of extreme home run hitters here. It's a very hitter-friendly park. It's just a bad spot to find the kid in his debut as far as any kind of playability goes. Will say was not bad at all. Sub 1 home run per 9 at every single stop in the minors. If you're throwing darts, maybe we can get them a little bit more projection and an update, but probably not. I got to look at what the maybe the back end looks like. I just wasn't expecting to have them, but they dropped them in for the 7,200 on DK. I really just don't want to tangle with this team, and I think I'm going to leave him where he is because of this situation, the ballpark, the home run bats, the 5+ implied total. Just feels like a spot we don't want to accidentally push anybody into. If you're a Red Sox fan, I mean, you got your Peyton Tolley debut the other day that was phenomenal. You don't need to go to this one. Jarren Duran, top of the Red Sox lineup. Alex Bregman, Trevor Story, great stretch of options. 51, 52, 49 for those hitters. Fairly priced on FanDuel in the mid threes. You get power, you get on base skills out of all three guys. 334, 361, and 310 on base. Story's the one guy who dips a little bit as far as the on base, though that is climbing. He was sub 300 for a minute there. 5.2% walks is up a little bit, but that's your culprit for why he doesn't get on base. Outside of that, he has been fantastic this year. 82 runs, 24 home runs, 90 ribbies, 27 stolen bases. We don't care about the runs and the RBIs. They're just situational and they're out of his control, but he has provided them. 180 ISO, a 103 WRC plus, hitting the ball squarely all year long at a 9.9% barrel, 47% hard hits. It's 4,900. He's 3,500. I think he's a little bit underpriced still on DraftKings, fairly priced on FanDuel. Romy Gonzalez has hit the ball hard all year long as well, 4,500, 3,200. He's slashing 306, 340, 489. Fantastic option against left-handed pitching. Just absolutely destroys lefties. Jarren Duran does suffer a little bit against lefties. We'll see if he's leading off. They did the other day against a lefty lead him off. I forget who that was against, but it was against a low-end lefty where Springs has a little bit more swing and miss. So maybe we see a different configuration where like Robbie Refsnyder leads off. He's been tremendous his entire career against left-handed pitching, especially since joining the Red Sox where they've really only deployed him in this platoon role. 7 home runs, 277, 360, 484 with a 206 ISO and 178 plate appearances, the large percentage of which have come against left-handed pitching. Nate Eaton also gets into the lineup against lefties. He's just a slap-hitting option, just another outfielder at best, third base eligible on DraftKings, but you don't really want him there. Ceddanne Rafaela is a guy from the right side who hits the ball squarely, sub 20% strikeout this year, just not drawing enough walk to keep him above water in terms of on base and WRC plus, but interesting for counting stats, was the same exact guy last year. Nick Sogard, mix and match quality at first base, second base, cheap pricing, 254, 321, 338, another guy in there for platoon reasons. And then Carlos Narvaez, solid from the right side, cheap catcher bat with major premium contact numbers this year. 8.8% barrels, 44.7% hard hits, 13 home runs, a 176 ISO down the bottom of the lineup for a catcher that people still only reluctantly play. It's not a bad option, again, in this ballpark against the lefty. And then the A's, 3 guys at the top of the lineup showing double digit in the home run model. They're the 3 guys that you would expect. Connolly Early could get chased awfully quickly here with the power and the skills up at the top of this lineup. And, Rooker draws walk. Nick Kurtz draws a lot of walks so far early in his career. Langoliers has been striking out a lot less, not necessarily drawing as much walk as last year, but that's a fair trade-off for the ridiculous power upside that we get out of him. You've got a phenomenal hit tool in Jacob Wilson, who is likely to get on base a couple of times. 315, 357, 446 slash line. Doesn't come with a lot of walk, but you're just throwing an excellent discerning hitter at the rookie here. Kobe Thomas in between those guys strikes out a ton, but has been barreling the ball like crazy and a lot of hard hit in there. 5 home runs in just 102 plate appearances, a 209 ISO. Kind of fits right in with the team theme here. Tyler Soderstrom at 4,000, 3,100. Lefty, less than ideal for him, but he's been excellent all season long. 274, 346, 473, a 199 ISO, 24 home runs, monster premium contact numbers. And if we're chasing the kid early, then we're getting into the bullpen, and then we get a little opportunity. Ernaiz is also low strikeout, high walk. 250, 324, 358. Mix and match quality overall. Zach Geloff at 31-24 caused all kinds of chaos for some reason in the model. If you were here during the football show yesterday, something about Zach Geloff created all of this entire row. For some reason, was referencing something else and was pulling up zeros. And then when I started uploading the projections, it became a real problem in the middle of the show yesterday. But Zach Geloff's a playable option. He's cheap. He's been awful in 79 plate appearances this year, except for that 13.2% barrel, that 52.6% hard hit in the small sample. That's maybe somewhat reflective of the guy who hit 17 home runs, stole 25 bases last year. It's not like he was a good bat anyway at 211, 273, 62. So we don't really care about the 176, 215, 297 so far. I'm just looking for that power and maybe a stolen base if he happens to get on. Lawrence Butler gives you those same things, 19 homers, 17 stolen bases in a down season for him, but a high-quality player who's still making great contact. It's an interesting lineup to throw at the rookie, and this ballpark helps everybody. Despite the slightly higher Vegas total, I think I'm going to go Red Sox bats, A's bats. They're the second and third highest stacks on the board, or third and fourth. So fire away with bats on both sides. Don't really need the pitching on either side. Swoosh. What's going on, Swoosh Bang? Just saw I was behind the live feed again. Shit. I was actually just watching some old Wire episodes. The shit reminded me of that. Swoosh has a lot of Seattle and Toronto today. Nothing wrong with that. Two excellent teams. Two teams who go about it a little bit differently, but come to similar type results as far as winning ball games. The complete opposite, Colorado Rockies don't exactly win a lot of ball games. We got to love about Colorado, though, for their home games, those fans come out. They still draw at that ballpark. They're a popular ticket. You'd like to see them have a good ball club for those fans from time to time, but people seem to like to go out and watch them. Today, they're in Los Angeles to face the Dodgers and Emmett Sheehan. The Dodgers come in at a nearly 6 implied total against the corpse of German Marquez. 6.19 ERA, a 5.11 xFIP, 14.9% strikeouts, 8.2% walks. Pretty ugly season for a once pretty talented pitcher. Maybe next year he comes back and is slightly more interesting. 5,061 against these Dodgers. I don't think we need to consider it. The guy we want to consider, Emmett Sheehan, on the other side. 9,000, pretty fair. 8,900, pretty fair. Striking out 27.6 over his 9 starts is 52 2/3. Comes with an 8.3% walk that's a little higher than you would want it in the long term, but perfectly fine against this team that doesn't really draw walks. 6.2% average walk rate. He's pitched to a 3.59 ERA, 3.75 xFIP. 14.9% swinging strike rate is a dominant swinging strike rate. He's allowed 11.5% barrels, 45.3% hard hit, 90 miles an hour of exit velo, nearly 91. So each of those marks is above our threshold, right? We got to be concerned about that. 21.2 degree average launch. We've got to worry about power a little bit here. That's his one flaw so far. 3.23% home run. That is a full percentage point lower than it ought to be given this kind of contact on that trajectory so far. And this team does have home run hitting ability. It's the one thing that could potentially burn us here in an otherwise really strong looking Sheehan spot. This team striking out at a 24.9% clip that's only saved by that Tyler Freeman number. Everybody else in this lineup is at a 26.5% strikeout rate. Plenty of Ks on deck. Sheehan is probably going to be a little bit popular here, but well worth it. Rockies bats against, though, given the premium contact that's available here, I don't think they're off the board. As low as that total is, as bad as they are, you can just see enough through the eye of that needle to say, all right, maybe we find some success with Tyler Freeman setting the table. Mickey Moniak does his thing, and then Hunter Goodman goes deep, or Jordan Beck, Brenton Doyle go deep, and we get a little bit of production here. It's unlikely to pay off a big total where we're getting 10, 12 run kind of day and slate winning kind of day. So maybe we're looking at it, if we go here at all, for just a couple of one-offs or a small stack, a 2-3 man, something like that. They're only, they've fallen off the side of the cliff Their hands have been stomped on and have come off except for like one fingernail just barely clinging to the side of the cliff. That's the kind of nature I'm talking about the Rockies being on the board in. Just barely. And again, smaller opportunities probably. A Mickey Hunter 2-man or a Freeman Mickey Beck 3-man. Things like that. They're very affordable for that. You've got a lot of realistic barrel rate right here. That is a 11.2% barrel rate average across Moniak, Goodman, Beck, Doyle, and Tovar. That's very real for those hitters. None of that is pretend. That's a 43.5% hard hit rate. That is also very real. It's also a 25.5% strikeout rate and just a 6% walk rate that are also, unfortunately, both very, very real. Those guys all hit the ball squarely. Those guys are all capable home run bats. A couple of those guys also steal bases. You got 16 apiece for Beck and Doyle. 15 home runs, 14 home runs. I've talked about the similarity for those two players. Those two guys click at the right time for this team at the same time. And that would elevate this team's production in an awful hurry. Ezekiel Tovar hits a lot of home runs. He had 26 last year. He's got 8 this season with a 159 ISO and only 319 plate appearances. Not bad pace. Cal Caros mix and match quality so far. Pretty aggressively high strikeout. Put some walks in there at 8.8%. Junkiel Fernandez hasn't really produced all that much, but he's got 3 home runs and 110 chances. It's not nothing up at the plate. Ryan Ritter, just mix and match quality down the bottom of the lineup. 67 WRC+. And then I skipped over Freeman other than saying a good table setter. 358 on base, but just a 92 WRC+. A little lack of consistency there. But a playable piece up at the top, 43.27, inoffensively priced on a cheap lineup. Let's say we just want a 3-man, a realistic option. Like 1, 2, and 1 of Beck Doyle. Take the cheaper one, 37.33, so 3,800 apiece for a 3-man. It's not an unreasonable 3-man. Look at the barrel rates. Just take the 3 big bats, right? If we're just chasing this premium contact, their 12.4% barrel rate aligns nicely with the 11.5 that Sheehan is allowed. Again, odds are Sheehan's just striking these guys out and breezing his way to a nice start. There's a little loose playability around those premium contact numbers. On the other side, there's a whole hell of a lot of playability around everything. Shohei Ohtani at the top of the lineup has a 15 plus in the home run model. He's hit 48 this year, stolen 17 bases, a 170 WRC plus. He's absolutely fantastic. Mookie Betts continuing to hold down the 2 spot despite a bad season. 253, 328, 389, a 136 ISO, 99 WRC plus. He's just lost out there. Still 10% strikeouts, 9% walks. He's not completely dead up there either. Just under league average for run creation is obviously problematic, but a 336 xWOBA speaks to the underlying quality at least. Freddie Freeman at 52 at 35, 19 home runs. Rock solid season out of Freddie. Will Smith at 5,000 at 3,300 has 17 home runs and 432 plate appearances, a 201 ISO, and just always any given slate, one of the best catcher options, full stop. Teoscar Hernandez at 45.32 has gotten cheap. He's hit 21 home runs. He's got a 197 ISO. 94 WRC plus is a little problematic. You need him to be well over 100, but he makes major premium contact at 11.8%, 44.2% hard hits. Michael Conforto's made good contact all year, but has really not found any kind of results for it. Still stuck at 10 home runs, a 133 ISO, 80 WRC plus. At best, he's a mix and match guy, but he is very, very cheap for a little left-handed pop against a dead body on the mound. Andy Pajas, 42-31, 24 homers, 13 steals. Tremendous season for him. And then Hee-Sung Kim, mix and match quality guy. Can get on base, 287, 323, 380. Has been okay in that department. Come down a little bit, though, as far as the reliability, down to a 97 WRC+, but playable to offset some pricing here at second base. Nothing wrong with having 2 of Teoscar. Well, Teoscar Pajas is appealing, but nothing wrong with having 2 of Pajas and Kim, or Teoscar and Kim. I don't know that you necessarily want Conforto and Kim, but that's obviously the cheapest way to do it. If you're taking both of those guys and then putting them together with 1, 2, 3, what does that get us down to? 46 apiece. And we get Ohtani, we get Freddie, we get Will Smith. And then I skipped over the man in the middle here. And I did it on purpose because he's only 4,000. He's only 3,300 on FanDuel. He's got a 13.6% barrel rate and a 52.3% hard hit rate. He strikes out just 20% of the time this year while walking 17.4%, which is an outrageous ratio. His strikeouts have come down appreciably from 26% over the last 2 years while he's gained a little bit of walk rate. It's only 350 plate appearances. Maybe if we gave him another 500, it would normalize back to previous seasons. But he's been absolutely fantastic this year after a very slow start that some of you might remember telling me he was dead. I remember these things. 17 home runs on the year, a 230 ISO, a 400 xWOB under the surface, a 143 WRC plus. Simply one of the best 3 true outcome hitters in all of baseball, and has improved that he's not even, it's just the 2 good outcomes mostly this season. Max Muncy at 718, a little bit low maybe. A little bit of credit there for who German Marquez was once. Max Muncy, home run pick of the day to end the show. That's your slate. Dodgers, Sheehan, Dodgers, depending on what order you need it in. Rockies, bats, maybe a loose dart throw here and there. No Marquez, no reason to play him. One last time, Dodgers are gutless, says Michael Knack. It's been a bumpy ride for the Dodgers. Got to say that. Still pretty good goddamn group of players, though, as far as just talking individual by individual. George Kirby represents the peak, the pinnacle, the summit, and many other similes or synonyms. Similes. Brain dead. Robbie Ray, total roller coaster at 94.95. Shane Bieber against the Astros. I don't love that DraftKings price at 10-3, but he's been very, very good. Question, as I illustrated, remains, is anything about the spike to 30+% strikeouts actually real, or is it just small sample this year and the beginning of last year? I suspect if you gave him another 30 starts to work with right now, that we would normalize back down 25, 26% strikeouts. The Astros low strikeout, a lot of quality in that lineup. Would be an interesting spot to attack if Bieber gets popular with Astros bats going the other way, given how high priced he is and how much that'll break lineups. That said, projects out in a totally believable spot. I am not against playing that, but it comes with an asterisk. Sheehan at 89 at 9,000, fairly priced for that spot against Colorado we just went through. Strider, problematic so far all season. Strikeouts are down. Everything else is up against him. It's an elite Cubs lineup up and down. But he's really, really cheap, and I want to play him at 7,800, 8,800. It's so tempting. It's probably a siren song. You crash on the rocks and your boat gets destroyed and then you get eaten, but he's really good. When he's on, he's elite. Michael King, I just don't know that we get enough upside there given a probable innings limit, first start in a month. Zebby, a lot of danger there as far as the power that shows for the Angels. But again, heavily right-handed team. He does well against righties. 77 is stupid cheap on DraftKings. You absolutely play that at any ownership. 9,000 on FanDuel is probably going to be lighter owned, so you gain ground there. But it is a high danger spot, and I do like the Angels on the other side of that one. I'm considering using them. Will Warren at 82.79 could definitely pay those prices off. More than good enough to beat that Tigers team, but a high danger spot in Yankee Stadium. And questions about what the innings are going to look like. Might be another one where we get 5 and Boone just says, thank you very much, goes to that bullpen they got. Gallen, you're just riding the return to form. He's still fairly priced at 87.84. It's just the fact that the strikeouts haven't really come back that doesn't make me more excited about the return to form. I think just middle of the board bit there, but member of that plateau of pitchers. And then Chad Patrick, I think, is very, very interesting on DraftKings at 7,000. The bottom guy in that plateau, but projects out basically the same as everybody else. There's no daylight between those numbers, and he is very cheap over there. 8,800, I think, on FanDuel reflects the quality with which he's been pitching this year. It's a gettable matchup against Texas. A little bit of a dip as far as going down to the next tier to Jack Leiter at the same pricing. I don't love that head-to-head there. Adrian Hauser's usable, but probably unnecessary at those numbers. Luis Garcia, total misprice over here. Reasonably priced over here, but why do we need to go to Luis Garcia against an excellent low strikeout Blue Jays lineup? Liberatore against Seattle, you could say similar things. He's at least very cheaply priced on DraftKings as an SP2 dart. He does offset a little bit further from the Chad Patricks of the world, but I'd probably just find the additional 400 and play Patrick most of the time there. Littell looks like a target for Padres bats. Mize, decent as he's been in a lot of spots this season, maybe you get away with it 71 on DraftKings. Good enough to find the good day against those Yankees. Again, a lot of free swinging in that Yankees lineup, plenty of strikeout, plenty of whiff there, but also the extreme high danger of facing all those 200 ISOs in Yankee Stadium, so on and so forth. Mostly a target. That's a very low price, but still probably mostly just a target with the Red Sox coming in at 5+. Not going to get enough as far as depth. I think we're just limiting the pitch count to around 80, 85 at most. Target for Twins bats. Target for A's bats most likely. Target for Dodgers. Target for Rays down the bottom. Dodgers lowest WRC plus last month entire league, or lowest WRC, not plus. Worse than the Rockies and Sox combined. Sure. I believe you. I haven't looked at that. But if you want to tell me that suddenly makes a collection of bats that includes Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Max Muncy, Will Smith, Teoscar Hernandez, and so on and so forth, not good anymore, you don't want to look at that. You really don't want to look backward over a month and make a decision about the quality. I know you're not really doing that, Ricky. Recency is everything. Yeah, exactly. Recency bias is a term for a reason, right? We don't want to look back at a small sample like that and suddenly decide that these guys aren't any good anymore just because they happen to have not collectively hit all at the same time. But I guarantee you go through those and you find good games for every one of these hitters individually. It's just they didn't all happen coincidentally. But with that in mind, you guys, 6-11. Nice long one today. Fun to get back in the saddle of the meandering our way through and talking about every last little corner and dusting everything off on this slate. I love it. Going to finish out baseball today, ride through lot, get my lineups in, and then I'm going to polish off the rest of football projections for this weekend. I'll get Thursday up either, again, overnight tonight or tomorrow morning. Main slate, overnight tonight, tomorrow morning. We'll probably do the initial cut of stack rankings like I did last time. Maybe I'll throw the initial cut of player rankings in there. I just hate that it then requires me to do that over and over again with all the copy pasting that's involved in that. It's a pain in the ass. But we'll get that stuff up on the website for you. We will have a main slate football show this week. We will have a Thursday showdown football show. In the meantime, baseball, football, all the projections, all the content available to you with just a few clicks over at rotoscouts.com. Everything's under $1 a day. Access to all of it for one low price. No per sport nonsense. Not trying to break your bank or take your bankroll away like some other places are. Hundreds and hundreds of dollars per sport, per this, per that. Nonsense. Keep the pricing reasonable. DFS for the people. Most people out there playing 1, 5, 20 lineups. The number of people who are really throwing 150 lineups into all these contests day after day after day that these sites seem designed for, pretty few and far between. We're here for the people, gang. Check it out. Give a little like to this video. Hype this video if you get a chance. New feature here on YouTube. There's a hype thing down there. I think you only get a few of them a week, so, be judicious with them. But if we earn it, give it to us. It would be nice and supposed to help smaller channels grow, which is what we're looking for. That said, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, your wife, whoever, come subscribe to the channel and then mute the channel. We're just looking to bolster those numbers a little bit. But if you have people out there that play DFS, that sports bet, whatever, have them come join the community, join the Discord, hang out on videos. If they want to subscribe to the website at rotoscouts.com, even better. If they're looking for good optimizers, or if you are, good sim site, check out our guys over at acemine.io. Promo code rotoscouts, all in caps, still 20% off your first month over there. And with that in mind, let me go update some lineups on the site, you guys. Late start for like half the slate tonight, though. Keep that in mind. Going to be a lot of changes late in the game. Good luck out there tonight. Somebody go win something. Share those results when you do at rotoscouts on Twitter or in the free premium Discord, which is linked down in the description. And we will see you tomorrow for a Wednesday slate. All baseball again. Later, gang.